Good evening, all. Welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland, an Arsenal podcast. My name is Kris, and I will be your host this evening as Gimli has a little bit niggle. He's out of action for a suspected amount of time, which hopefully won't be as long as Diaby, but you never can tell. He lives in Merthyr after all, so who knows what might happen there. So get well soon, Gim. The other button monkey is here, though. The rumour is that he is set to be unveiled as Lucy Bill's killer this evening. Death by forcefully feeding a mini cheddars. It's Danny the GFP. Good evening, Danny.
Oh, don't fuck with the mini cheddars. You know, I don't eat them anymore. They give me the shits. I'm allergic to wheat.
Well, that's a beautiful highbrow way of starting this podcast.
I like to eat them quickly, but they come out quicker than they go in.
Moving on.
The consistency is almost the same.
You could have just said good evening.
Hello, how are you?
So yeah, there we go.
Gimli has cat AIDS, by the way, or dog AIDS. We're not sure which.
A combination of the two.
Too much licking puppies.
Yes.
Oh, puppies.
Anywho. Right, moving on. So, other rumours rife today that there is set to be an Alien 5 made, but I cannot confirm or deny if the film is going to be shot in this man's basement. It is Goonerholic joining us. Good evening, sir.
Bonsoir. Whatever it is. And I will not be mentioning anything scatological in my introduction.
Oh, scatological. Now, there's a word I didn't think we'd hear tonight. That's brilliant. Loving that. Right, we will be joined shortly by another guest. It's a very French-flavoured podcast this evening. You will find out more shortly, but it wouldn't be an Arsenal podcast and it wouldn't be ABW if we didn't go over the last few days of Arsenal news. So, Danny, I'll come to you first of all for scores on the doors.
Right, there are no doors, but here's the scores. Arsenal under 18 1, Leicester under 18 0. The goal was scored in the 57th minute by Mr. Robinson. I say Mr. Robinson. I've got no idea who he is. I've never heard of him. He could be a world-class player. Tyrell Robinson.
Tyrell, rather, that's a name.
There you
go. I wonder if he went to Eton with Maitland-Niles, or whatever his name is.
Conservative.
We've got a real collection of well, I don't even know what the word is, but interesting named young lads.
Yeah, but I'm not going to. How about that Greek bloke? Fucking hell. That's what I'm going to call.
Ebola? Is it?
No.
Oh,
He's never going to get booked, is he?
He's known to his friends as Nigel, I believe.
And
so,
a certain Mr. Beckham was on the bench for us.
Oh, Brooklyn, yes.
That's it.
Yeah, he Instagrammed, is that the right phrase?
I don't know.
Him hitting the crossbar in the reserves the other day. I saw that. That was fun.
Super Dan Crowley played. Future Arsenal legend. And
Super
Zellerlem.
No.
Thank you very much. And he played. And
he did.
Haddart played in goal, which is good because I think he's been with the first team a lot.
And I think I'm right in saying that Serge Gnabry was back to the under-21s game the other week as well?
Yeah, he did. He played. I think he played 76 minutes, which is always good.
And Christian Bielik, didn't he get some minutes, or did he not in the end?
I haven't got that game up.
I don't think he did in the end. I think he was supposed to, but...
What, is this the one where we beat Newcastle 2-1?
Yes.
I'm going to pretend that I had this page really open. And
I did kind of throw you that one. I do apologise.
Bielik, no, he didn't play.
Ah, okay. Well, I'm sure we'll see him at some point. He's probably in the gym or something, so that's all good.
Yes.
I suppose this is the point where I give Jason Davies his 5 minutes of hilarity of the week, isn't it? I'll give you a brief Pirates update. For the second week in a row, I am livid as a manager. I am livid because we did lose standard, but to need a cab, insert joke about needing a taxi here. But they were second in the league. They've won 7 out of their 9 games they've played. They've only conceded 13 goals, and we honestly should have been 5 up in 20 minutes. We were absolutely all over them. And the motivation I had was I walked behind the goal before kickoff, and one of them said under his breath, "Oh, this lot of shit, we'll smash them." And that was my team talk done right there. And our lads were really up for it. But yeah, unfortunately, we battered them, but we missed chances. We were without Danny's favourite, Callum, up front. He had to work, so he wasn't able to play for us. And we had Jimmy Williams up front as a sort of makeshift striker. And unfortunately, it was akin to having Yaya Sanogo up top. So it didn't work out. And they went 2-0. Well, they went 1-0 up. And they got 2 goals just before half-time, went in at 3-0. Second half, we got one back. Sam Brutti scored. It's his first competitive goal for us with a header. And then we conceded the fourth, literally the last kick of the game when we were pushing forward. So really unlucky, but them's the breaks. And as I'm sure Jason will say, yeah, but you still got humps, didn't you? Well, we didn't get humped, but Hey, it's another defeat. So we'll look to bounce back this week. We've got bottom of the league, Tamar View. So it's the derby of the bottom two.
Gonna murder him. I predict 7-1.
Well, the biggest problem we might have at the moment is the weather, because anyone that knows the UK weather at the moment, particularly down here in Devon, it's not the best right now. So fingers crossed, if the game is on, we will kick some ass.
It's not raining, it's about to rain.
Exactly. It's been raining here pretty much on and off all day, so... Oh well, but yeah, put your bets on. We'll be bringing home the bacon when we play them. Let's hope. So, right. So we'll move on. So we've only got the one game to talk about this week, and whilst it wasn't the thriller-minute ride of Premier League football, it was our win in the FA Cup. Okay, fifth round is it? Fifth round, isn't it?
Yes, there it was.
At home to Middlesbrough by 2-0. Goals from Olivier Giroud. I'll come to Holic first of all. What did you think of the game in general? Sort of pluses, and were there any minuses? I can't really think of any, to be honest.
No, I don't think there were. Well, the only minus you might say is that we didn't score more than we did. The 2 in 2 minutes, having dominated the game from the first kick to the last. I thought the midfield performance with Santi Cazorla and Mesut Ozil just absolutely blowing them away. And when you think how well they played at Manchester City, it's hard to say, well, it was only a championship club, because they came with confidence. You could hear the manager talking in the week, well, we'll have to be at our best if we want to beat them. So they came with a plan, but we just blew them out of the water. I thought the performance was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, well said. And Danny, Olivier Giroud, amongst the goals again, he's been pretty key since he's returned to the lineup. I know we'll talk a little bit more in depth with him with our guest a little bit later on. But how did you think he performed? And would you say we're a better side when we've got him up front?
Well, he's adapting to that role of playing up front on his own superbly, and I don't think any other striker in the world could do the job that he is doing. And every game he is getting better and better. I mean, to get what's that star for? Oh, man of the match. Yes, he got 2 goals, got man of the match, and it's absolutely unplayable at times. And I like Middlesbrough. I like their manager. I think it's one of the crankies.
Aitor Cranky.
That's it. Yeah, he was the lesser known of the 3 crankies. He's, and it's weird to see that Sanchez had another quiet game. But it's you just wait. It's like a ticking time bomb, the Ozil-Sanchez togetherness. Because when you're playing, and when it's been Ozil all the time, and you've had two defenders on him, and then when he's been away, you've had Sanchez with 2 defenders on him, and now they're both playing together. The other teams must be thinking, well, what do we do? We can't afford to put 2 defenders on each. And so then that's why other players are having such good games. Like Giroud had another, and like we were just saying, a brilliant game. Cazorla was a little bit quiet, but still, he's got the quietest feet in football. Still fantastic. I mean, for Flamini to have such a good game when he hasn't even been playing that much lately, and I was really glad to see. Can I mention Gabriel? Don't call me Palista.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, I thought he was good. I bought him on FIFA last night. He was 5,000 coins, and then now he's going for about 700 or 800 coins. So I bought 2 of them. I don't fuck around on FIFA.
He was a silver when he was at Villarreal, and he's an Arsenal player. Suddenly now he's gold. Funny, isn't it?
On the Xbox, he's silver and gold at Arsenal.
Ooh,
Don't know why that's working.
Must be something to do with Bill Gates.
It's all
Microsoft.
wrong. It's all wonky. But on about Giroud, why are you saying Giroud? It's not Giroud. This is Giroud. And I
said Giroud.
No, you didn't. You said the D at the end.
I don't think I did. If I did, I apologise. It would be unlike me.
You're going to listen back to this later, and you're going to go, "Fucking hell! I said a D at the end."
If I did, I apologise. It's not usually my way.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at his rating. Oh, here we go. Why can't I find it? Oh, fixtures. That's what I'm looking for. And so he's got the last game. He got 2, and then the game before that against Leicester, he didn't do much. He only played 22 minutes though. Game before that, an assist. Game before that, a goal and an assist. Then a goal, then an assist, and then he is doing absolutely brilliant. I think in these last few games, he has shown what an important part of the team that he is. And without him, I don't think anybody else can play that role up front as well as he does for us, let alone any other player from any other team, because he puts in such a shift. And to be doing that, and I think that was his 8th brace of his Arsenal career. I think he scored a couple of hat-tricks for Montpellier. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Oh, bollocks. Montpellier. I think he's got 2 hat-tricks for those back in the day. But it's good to see that he's so close. Wenger said that he left him on as long as possible, waiting for him to get the hat-trick. But I think Middlesbrough, they'll get promoted. And I think they'll do really well. Because they're a decent manager, decent team. And I really like their owner. Is it Steve Gibson, the owner of Middlesbrough? Nice bloke, nice stadium, nice fans, nice everything. I hope they get promoted. Good game. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you, as in depth as you can get. I should keep our listeners updated that Inter Milan are 1-0 up at Celtic, and unfortunately that lot down the lane. Apparently, some bloke called Soldado apparently used to be a striker back in the day. He's just put them one up against Fiorentina, so we'll just skip frantically over that point.
Who ricocheted it off him?
Probably Loris. It's probably a goal kick, just hit him in the head and went in, I expect.
It probably went off of Lennon's arse, even though he's 500 miles away.
Yeah, both at Everton, yeah, absolutely. Shaqiri scored for Inter, by the way. Anywho, Oleg, I'll come back to you. Just Danny's kind of already touched a little bit on him, but the game saw the debut of Gabriel Paulista at centre half. Interestingly enough, paired with Laurent Koscielny as opposed to Mertesacker. I think a lot of people thought that'd be the other way around. Just sort of general thoughts on how he performed, and sort of obviously it's difficult to judge on one game, but what did you think of what you saw, and did you like what you saw?
I liked very much what I saw, but as you say, it's one game, and he didn't have too much to do because Middlesbrough didn't have that much ambition. Even when they went 2 down, I think there was a degree of damage limitation going on. But what he did, he by and large did extremely well. I think his passing stats were something like 90-odd%. He won a couple of decent balls in the air. One little slip he made, he recovered quickly. But generally, his positional sense looked good. You didn't notice that actually Mertesacker wasn't there. He'll face stiffer tests, though, but I very much like the look of how he played.
Yeah, absolutely. And just sort of drawing a line under this game, Danny, because truth be told, there isn't a lot to say. I agreed with what you said about Middlesbrough. I thought they played they played as well as they could. They looked sort of a decent bunch. They didn't just come to kick us off the pitch. I wanted to just touch on the game. Saw Santi Cazorla, Mesut Ozil, and Alexis Sanchez all play in the same side. And there was a brilliant picture taken by I think it's the actual official Arsenal photographer took it, whose name escapes me. I'll look at Stuart. That's the one. It was a beautiful picture and sort of summed up what every Arsenal fan's been craving. Santi Cazorla in this sort of withdrawn central midfield role alongside a Coquelin or a Flamini seems to be working. Were you quite a fan of seeing those three in the same side, and is it something you'd like to see more often?
Yes, certainly is. It's a delightful thing. I think Santi has shown his versatility. Left wing, right wing, can play in the 10, can play in the central midfield. But I'm just looking at the touches. Santi had 133 touches, Ozil had 118, and Sanchez 76. So just show, have a look at Flamini. Flamini only got 92. But even so, it just shows that I'd like to have seen a heat map for Cazorla, because I bet he was all over the place, as usual, covering every single position. So it doesn't really matter where anybody is. Like when you see the lineup on whoscored.com or any of those places like that, you might as well just completely ignore the lineup and the positions they put them in, because they just wander all over the place. Like when Ozil was playing out on the left wing, his heat map was mostly in the centre or in the 18-yard. It's 18-yard box. I always get those numbers mixed up. Yeah, so it's it's just wonderful seeing those three players in there, and hopefully if those three stay fit and they all start linking up together, because I don't think those three have played that many games together. It may be it's only 1, 2 or 3, something like that. And it is going to be a thing of beauty, and if we can stay injury free, then we can go on and win the World Cup.
Cool, that's the if, isn't it? The World Cup. Love it. Before we introduce our guest that we have this evening, I did just want to touch on the draw. I know we were all sort of sat bated breath waiting for us to draw Bradford away or and relive the horrors of last year. But we've got something even more horrible, and that's the lot from Manchester with Rooney catapulting himself across the pitch as they come. Oleg, I'll come to you and then to Danny for your thoughts. What sort of your general thoughts? Is it a tie? I mean, is it one you want to get out the way? Because let's face it, to win the FA Cup, we're probably going to have to beat them, however bad they are at the moment. Is it a game you're happy we've got, or are you a little bit nervous about it?
Well, I would prefer to get Reading at home, obviously, but it was if there's a year to draw Manchester United at Old Trafford, it surely has to be this year, because, all right, I know they've only lost one in the last 19, but they're not the Manchester United we've known in years gone by. How they won at our place, even they don't know. So I'm actually, although I've got a lake of ambrosia at the bottom of the garden where the fairies live, I actually believe we've got an outstanding chance of going there and doing exactly what we did to Manchester City on our last visit up there. So I'm not at all depressed about the draw. I think we'll get through.
Good shout. Confident, bold. I like it. Danny, do you share that confidence?
No. Of all the draws we could have had, that's the one I really don't want, because although we're capable of beating them, we're the better team, we've got the better manager, who Premier League wise, not career wise, because old Louis is, although he's wound up easily, but as Sam Allardyce showed him, poor old bloke doesn't understand the meaning of sarcasm. But yeah, I just think that we would go there. They'll probably be favourites, but we just always fuck it up all the time. No matter what we do, when you go to places like that, we could be on there on a 100-game winning streak, and we'll go there and we'll go, oh, and they shit their pants and lose. It's just I don't know why they do it, and it drives me nuts, and I'm going to hate the game. I'll be watching it through. I'll probably be squinting a little bit and hiding behind the sofa, like when Doctor Who's on. But it's even as a grown man, I still don't like the Daleks. Now they can hover, they're even worse. But I've gone off on one again, haven't I? Yeah, I'm just scared of them. Scared of going there, and that our players will shit their pants. And plus, the journey there and the journey back is going to be a nightmare, because half of the stadium is going to be full of Man United fans from London. And
it's going to be on a Monday night, apparently, I'm told.
So Gav was saying that it's shit moronic, because everyone has to take the day off.
Yep. Yeah, moronic. And the train... I saw a...
One carriage, is it?
Yeah. From
For 5,000 people?
Our very own of his parish, Gav at Shewar, he tweeted the picture of the train costs, what it's going to cost people to get up there for the day, and I think there's some sort of petition going round about why, and it is a joke, let's be honest. And fans will go, they will pay it because we want to support our team. But to do it on a Monday is just...
They don't care.
No, of course they don't.
What they should do, of all those games that are done, if you want to put one on the Monday, how about you do Aston Villa West Brom, where they're 5 minutes away from each other? Exactly. I tell you, we'd pick the two teams that are the furthest away from each other, actually, Bradford, Reading. That's quite far away. But that's 12:45. Reading fans are going to have to get up the day before.
It's too much like sense, isn't it? Too much.
So
like
it
sense
should have been Liverpool Blackburn should have been either and Bradford Reading. No, and Villa West Brom. Those two games should be the ones that can be at odd times, and the other ones, like it used to be back in the old days of Division 1, where if you played Christmas and New Year, you'd play local derbies. But they just don't give a fuck. They got all that money. They probably got money. He'd never gone 2-0 up.
Yeah, I saw that.
I don't know why I'm saying I mean, I would like Celtic to go further, but yeah.
Exactly.
I did read somewhere they've got an EDL march in Manchester on the Saturday, which made it awkward because they didn't want Arsenal, Manchester United and Chelsea supporters in the same city.
Yeah, very good.
Hey!
Very good. As less on Chelsea fans talk as possible after last night.
Dear.
Yeah, I mean it is madness. I know the BBC got an awful lot of stick for showing or not showing Bradford, but
I thought their excuse was bullshit as well, that they had to pick it before they knew the draw. You go, well, hold on, no, we pay for the TV rights. We'll pick it 5 minutes before the game if we want. I know you have to get all the cameras and stuff there, but that's a bullshit excuse. You tell them to fuck off. No, we're going to wait till after the draw, and then we're going to pick the games. And what are you going to do about it? Nothing.
And more to the point, I think Football Weekly had hit the nail on the head. I think the bottom line is the BBC haven't got Premier League football, and it was their opportunity to show a Premier League team, and that's why they picked Aston Villa and Everton.
What a shit
Aston Villa
game that was.
It was the closest thing to two Premier League sides, and BT Sport did the same. So with West Brom and West Ham, but anyway, we'll shift this on a gear. So at this point, I'd like to introduce our fourth member of the panel this evening, who's been sat there bored to tears as we talked Arsenal, unfortunately. But it's a pleasure of mine to introduce to the show Andrew Gibney, who is one of the co-hosts from the French Football Weekly website /podcast. Very good evening to you, Andrew.
Good evening, guys. How are we doing?
Good,
Very
thank
good.
you.
So let's get this right. I am the host of the podcast. John is my second in command. He's not a co-host. I'm the host.
John is the backup.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what we call it.
So you're the host and the button monkey all in one.
I'm the host, button monkey, everything. It's all me.
Who does the website?
Me.
Oh fuck! Sounds like what I did. You get no thanks, do you?
Not at all.
Just get all them lot moaning.
But you try and get someone to do something else to kind of ease your week,
Jesus.
and you get nothing.
Yeah,
in return.
fuck all. If it weren't for Other Jeff, I'd have lost my mind because he's
Hang
taken
on, I've
over
got
the
a
blogging.
Stradivarius in the corner here somewhere.
Should we just call this a Bergkamp Wonderland podcast?
Oh, you don't know the responsibilities. Sometimes I don't sleep at night.
Oh god, I can imagine.
That's the
In
cake.
fairness, you do a wonderful job, Danny. We
Oh,
appreciate
shut up! You're making me blush.
checks in the post. Right, well, we've got Andrew on for a reason. As I'm sure everyone who's from an Arsenal supporting fraternity will be aware, we've got a Monaco side coming to the Emirates next week. I have said that. We are home first, aren't we?
Yeah.
I had to double take for a second then. So yes, indeed, we have got Monaco arriving on these shores next week for the Champions League second round game. So we thought, who better to have on than somebody who knows a little bit, or in fact a lot, about French football and obviously about Monaco. So we've got a few questions for you, Andrew, from our listeners, but also I'd like to pick your brains in general. Monaco, let's sort of break them down individually. We'll start on the plus side. In fact, before we go into Monaco, why don't you just give us a bit of a sort of brief rundown about your website, your love of Lille, and how you came to follow French football and got so involved in it.
God, the how I got involved in it was I've been watching it for about 10 years now, probably 11, maybe 11 years now. When I was a student back in the days, someone's mum was going to France on some kind of business trip. She was going to a game, no mention of what the teams were, and I asked her to buy me a scarf. Not a half and half scarf, but like a proper scarf. Because I had a little bit of a collection going on, and she came back and she gave me a Lille scarf, and I was like, "What the fuck are they?" But I was a big fan of Pro Evo at that time, and I sort of loaded it up, see who they were, then got involved in a bit of a forum and got far too much involved with editing player stats on Pro Evo than I like to admit. And it went from there. When you're playing the same team over and over again, you sort of thought you know who all the players are without ever watching them play a game of football. And then I started watching via really bad streams. If you think streams are bad now, 2003, 2004, they were dreadful. Then I managed to find websites where you can get download the full game, and I watched them play Lens in the first derby of the season, and they won 4-0 in the sunshine, and Peter Odemwingie scored a hat-trick, and that was me, hooked. And then just being the kind of person I am, where you need to know everything. I wasn't just satisfied knowing Lille, I wanted to know who they were playing, were they any good, who the best players were. So you started watching. First, I was just watching 1 or 2 games, and ended up watching. Now I'm up to 5 or 6 games a weekend, and FFW was born because I was thinking before the podcast why I even started writing, and I've no idea. I've absolutely no idea why I started writing, and now people pay me for it, which is remarkable. The fact that I failed English and French in high school as well, this makes it even more a bit baffling. But yeah, that's all the short version. And just love of football, love of knowing more, and there's just something about the French game, the way, and as Arsenal fans will know, with people like Yaya Sanogo, and there's so many young players always coming through that there's no point being upset when someone leaves. People will always question me when Eden Hazard left for Chelsea. Oh, you'll miss him. Like, yeah, before I've had Odemwingie, Kader Keita, Jean McCoon. The second season I followed Lille, 13 players left. So you get a quick sort of baptism into they're all going to leave sooner or later, so don't get too attached to them. And now it's the same. Hazard, Dimitri Payet, Gervinho, everyone leaves. But
don't forget
always...
Pascal Sigan.
He's the director of football at a team called Vascal, who play in the sort of Lille suburb area, and I have stood next to Pascal Sigan watching a game of football, so that was quite cool.
Was he facing the right way?
He was facing the right way. He was behind the goal though, so he wasn't going to give away goals there. But yeah, it's one of those. There's always, when someone leaves, someone always comes in, and there's always players to watch coming through, and that's what draws me to it. That's what keeps me there, and it's always just exciting to see who the next big thing's going to be.
Well, I can give you news that unfortunately Guingamp are 1-0 down to Kiev. So that's it's almost like as soon as you came on, they went behind. So I don't know if that's got something to do with it. Well, thank you for the insight. I mean, I know obviously firstly from listening to your podcast for a while. As soon as the Monaco draw came out, I immediately contacted Danny and I said, I know a man I know who will get on, and here we are. So thank you very much for coming on.
Pleasure.
So let's talk Monaco then. As I said, there's a couple of sort of subsections I want to go into, but give us a brief sort of rundown on their current form, and also give us a little bit of an insight about their owner, who's caused a bit of a stir, sort of one way and the other. But yeah, just give us sort of a general review of how they're performing at the moment in this season.
Yeah, well, I'll start on this season first because it sort of builds up to how well they're doing now. I mean, the start of the summer, they lost James Rodriguez to Real Madrid, and everyone was like, "Oh no, the project's falling apart. It's a disaster." For me, if you buy someone for 40 million and someone offers you 80, I don't care what your project is, you sell. That's double your money for one season. Thanks, James. Goodbye. Falcao. People are starting to listen to him a bit now, but I said it last season. He was all right. He was average at best. He scored 7 and 7, and then he struggled a bit with the physicality. The defenders started to realise that he doesn't do a lot. As long as you stop everyone else, you're going to stop Falcao. And I think he got 2 and 10 after that, and finished with 9. And everyone's like, "Oh, the knee injury saved him." Because if he'd gone a whole season, his record would have looked even worse, and people would maybe not believe the hype as much. So when someone offers to take him off your hands and pay 6 million for a loan deal, yeah, buy Falcao, you can go as well. And people wanted them to challenge PSG. I think that was the massive letdown. Everyone thought they were going to spend another 150 million and go and challenge PSG, but it's the guy in charge, Dmitry Rybolovlev, who I'll get the name once. You'll probably hear 5 different versions of it if I say it again.
Don't ask Danny, for God's sake.
The guy is going through a divorce settlement with his ex-wife. He did have 6 billion. I think he's down to about 3 billion now.
Oh,
and
bless his soul. How does he cope?
Yeah.
How does he sleep at night?
Oh, I have a whip round.
If you've got a tenner, you have to give some a fiver. I'm quite annoyed by that. So I imagine it's still a bit of a kick in the knackers to lose £3 billion. And then
You haven't got her phone number as well, have you?
If I'm not giving it to him here. If it's all these things that happen, like they were told if they went and spent the same money, they would get fined by financial fair play. So he's like, "Well, I don't want to spend that, so we'll cut the spending." They've got an agreement with the French League, so they don't have to move their offices to France, because obviously Monaco's not actually part of France. They don't have to pay tax, but they've got like a €50 million a year deal with the French League that they can stay where they are, but we'll give you this money. So that's another 50 million on top. And then it's like people wanting to spend another 150 on players. He was like, "Nah, we're gonna." And if you're smart, you don't have to spend that much money to be the second, third team in France. You're never going to catch PSG with the money they spend. You can catch them on the pitch, but you're never going to match their spending. So even they spent €6 million on Timo Bakayoko from Rennes, and even that's more than any Ligue 1 team can spend. They've still got that ability. But then they started the season and they were poor. The new boss, Leandro Jardim, came in for Claudio Ranieri and just looked a little bit out of his league. He kept even just making substitutions, and you're thinking, why is he bringing on a like-for-like attacker and then bringing on just making really bizarre changes? And they lost the first 2, they drew. They only had 3 wins in the first 7 games. You're thinking something isn't right here. And then the Champions League started, and everyone who watches French football was thinking they're going to get done. Even against Zenit, Benfica, Bayer Leverkusen, you worried about them just getting 1 or 2 points and sort of limping out. But because the pressure wasn't on them to go and attack, well, everyone wants them to stay up with PSG and challenge for the league, so they have to go and attack teams, and they weren't very good at it. But they got to defend. It was just, let's keep it solid, let's keep it tight, try and nick a goal and see what happens. And they kept, 5 clean sheets? I think 5 out of 6 clean sheets. They only scored a couple of goals, but they managed to get the clean sheets and get the draws away, the wins at home, and they end up going through. And then they sort of took that mentality to the league. They lost 2-0 against Rennes back in November, end of November. And then they went, 4, 5, 6, 9 games without losing a goal in Ligue 1. And then they started winning 1-0, 2-0. And then they won 4 in a row, then 2 in a row. And now they're up at the top end of the table again, because the problem in France is everyone can beat everyone outside of there's at a top and sometimes the bottom. So you go on a good run and you shoot straight up that table. So now going into the Arsenal game, they're fifth. They could go fourth on Saturday. Everyone was thinking, oh God, they were in the relegation zone after like 4 or 5 weeks because of that solid. They're not even the best defensive team. Like, you look individually and you think they're not that good defensively, but they keep it organised. They keep the shape together. They look for the clean sheet first, and then if they can nick one, fantastic. If they're not 0-0, it's fine, and that's what's got them going up the table.
Yeah, it's kind of a very in-depth. I mean, one of the things you touched on there, actually, I wanted to give a nod because it was one of our questions from Alex Orlando Cross, who posted on our Facebook page, and he said, "Were Monaco gutted to lose Falcao to United this season, or were their fans happy to see the back of an overpaid?"
I think they've been more gutted if he has to come back.
No, I was just going to say, actually, yeah, this is the thing. He might end up back there. That Alex said, "Are they happy to see the back of an overpaid, injury-plagued pile of mediocrity?" Which is quite a deep way of putting it, but it's true, isn't it? They're not really missing him, are they?
And I must say, I was talking to there's a scout I know who lives in Lille, and we were talking about it. And I think it was after 5 games, and I said, I mean, I didn't watch a lot of Atletico Madrid, didn't watch a lot of Porto, but you hear the myth of Falcao, how this amazing striker. And I was like, I don't see it. I don't see doesn't create his own goals. He's not got a lot of pace. Why is this guy so highly rated? And then, but he scored like 5 and 5, so I'm getting like pelters for saying that he's crap. But then it starts happening because Ligue 1, even Zlatan Ibrahimovic has said it's the most physical league you'll play, and some of the defenders you come up against, they will boss you about, and he didn't handle it well at all, and that's why I was never convinced he was going to do well in the Premier League either. The pace of the game, and there's just as many sort of strong defenders, he was going to get found out, and it's happening now. And his agent George Mendes can spin a tale as much as he wants. How he's going to get someone to spend money on him, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, good luck with that one. Let's have a look at some of the sort of strengths and weaknesses then. We had a question from Neil Harnett, also on our Facebook page. He said Leonardo Jardim's side had the best defence in the group stage, conceding just 1 goal in 6 games. They've also, as you mentioned, conceded only 3 goals in the last 12 league games. What was your take on how to breach such a strong defensive line? I put that under the strengths section. So obviously it is a strength that they're so defensive, but there's also what could be the weakness. Give us sort of an insight on their strengths on the defensive side and then in general.
Yeah, strengths defensive wise, it's interesting because the 2 fullbacks are really attacking. Fabinho and Levan Kurzawa love to get forward. Kurzawa more than anyone. He's going to be a danger to Arsenal in that extent. But for some reason, there's definitely space in behind them. The problem that they're going to have is Ligue 1 doesn't have a lot of wingers. No one gets to the byline very much. So they're not quite used to that. And there's going to be space in behind, depending on who they're going to play in centre defence, because they've had like 5 different centre-backs this season, random pairings at times. Like Abdenour, the Tunisian, he's big, he's strong. He's fairly quick, but you can get at him. He's prone to the odd mistake. For me, I think for Arsenal, it's just keep at them. If you keep at this Monaco defence, they will crack eventually. Just in France, there's very much a mentality of, well, away from home, let's just not get beat by too many. We'll try a little bit. If it's not working, we'll shut up shop and we'll try again next week, sort of thing. And look at Andrea Raji, he's going to be out, so he won't play. You've got Ricardo Carvalho, he's 36. Just go at him. He's not up to that same standard he used to be. It's just, you look at Guingamp did it at home last weekend. They won 1-0, the first goal Monaco scored since that game in November. And they just had a go. They sort of got down the flanks a bit, the cross balls into the box, and asked them some questions. And that is, they're not, all those clean sheets have not made them invincible. You don't think instantly they're a very good defensive team. When you look at them, it just sort of works and they sort of get past it. Wallace, the Brazilian, he looks shaky at times. He's had a couple of red cards. Should have had one against Leon when he stamped on Samuel and Titi. Yeah, there's definite flaws. They're actually better when Jeremy Toulon plays in centre-back and not in defensive mid. That was the start of a really good run when he had to play there through injuries. But he's probably not going to play there because he is better in the midfield, but they're better with him in defence. I think just constantly going at them and don't high tempo, pressure them. There's enough inexperience there for them to crack, and no one in the Champions League really did that. Zenit didn't do it. Benfica, they were poor, and Leverkusen, you sort of expected more from them. So they're at Monaco, they'll sit deep and they'll sort of invite Arsenal on with both legs, and it's just a case of continually, getting down the flanks. I think getting in behind the full-backs is probably the biggest weakness, because this is not something they face every week.
Yeah, perfectly put. Thank you. We also had on the sort of weaknesses side of things, we had two questions. One was from I always pronounce his name wrong, Janzab Shaheen, and he was saying to ask about the set pieces, and whether sort of when they come to our place, would they likely be the sort of team that are going to park the bus? Obviously, we mentioned them being defensive. Do you think we can get at them at set pieces? And on a similar note as well, HJP Gooner said, as Monaco don't score more than 2 in League One, how many do you expect they'll score against us? And can they come from behind against us if we do indeed take a lead?
Set pieces, they are a big team. Even the fullbacks, Fabinho's rather tall, Kurzawa's big, he's good in the air. If Abdenor is if he's in the mood, he's exceptional in the air. Even like Kondogbia, Bakayoko, the midfielders, they're big. So they're a big team. So I wouldn't think that's going to be something they're going to struggle with. Even Daniel Subasic, the goalkeeper, is pretty confident in the area. He'll come and claim or punch, whatever is the easier for him. The scoring goals, they've not got a lot of goals in them. Berbatov needs to be in the mood as he always has. He's going to be there. He's going to imagine he'd be up for it. The threat is probably Yannick Carrasco, the Belgian under-21 winger. He's got pace to burn. He's got tricks. He likes to cut inside and have a shot. He's not going to be scared of the occasion. He's the one that if Monaco are going to get anything, it'll be from him or in Kurzawa from left back if you don't see him coming. He used to play as a striker when he was a kid, so he's still got that sort of instinct of he's not afraid once he gets in the final third to have a dig to break in the box. Apart from that, they really do struggle with goals. They've got a lot of goals and set pieces from Berbatov as well. They get a couple from midfield, but yeah, it's going to be Ferrer Carrasco cutting inside, or something from a set piece like a flick off Berbatov or one of the defenders, or because they're a big team.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a little nod actually to Simon Collins, who's one of our resident bloggers, and he just posted a question on our Twitter account when he said if you run through how they'll play and who to look out for will be perfect. So it's kind of a good segue into individual players. I'm a big fan of Yannick Ferrer Carrasco, and also I know there's a little bit of surprise when Marseille decided to take Lucas Ocampos, who whilst has not really pulled up any trees,
he's rubbish. Yeah,
absolutely. It just seems sort of weird to me that they decided to let go of another forward-thinking player, but I mean, other than that, they've got Anthony Martial and the lad whose name completely escapes me. That's good planning. Is it the lad they signed in January?
Bernardo Silva.
That's the Badger. That's the one. Do you think, as you say, you've already mentioned the threat coming from sort of Kurzawa, etc., but is there anything for our defenders and the style of defenders? You'll be familiar with Laurent Koscielny, for example, and Per Mertesacker's lack of speed. Do you think that's probably an area that they're going to target when they come to the Emirates?
They always try and play wide as much as any sort of French team does, but it's more you sort of play wide to an extent, then you cut inside, and possibly Kurzawa will overlap more than most French fullbacks will, so he's one to definitely watch. Berbatov flatters to deceive. He's got 6 goals, but he's a man for the moment. So he's the one that I suppose if you take him lightly, you can come up with something. But it's going to be Bernardo Silva, as you mentioned, has been excellent. He joined on loan in the summer from Benfica, because I'm guessing Hardim knew about him, and he's started slowly, but he's been a bit of a revelation. We called him the Portuguese James Milner as a joke on the podcast, because he sort of does everything. He's busy, he's small, he's got a really bad moustache as well, but he gets involved and he makes things happen, and he's like the man before the assist sort of thing. He'll get the ball, he'll start a move, and then he'll keep his run going. He can get the odd goal. He's one that will maybe fly under the radar that needs looking at, because they'll probably end up playing a sort of 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1. Silva will either play on the right or in the middle, and he's the one that can make little runs from deep. That if Monaco do get on the break and hit with pace as they will, he's one to watch, just come making little runs. I'm sure that whoever covers the game, be it ITV or Sky, will point out João Moutinho because he's the name. But Bernardo Silva has been a much better player than João Moutinho has.
Yeah, and do you rate one of the players I just thought off the top of my head, the goalkeeper Subasic? Do you rate him? He seems to be a bit hit and miss for me.
I didn't used to. I used to be quite critical of him, but then this season, the end of last season, it came really good, and he's settled with the language. This is sort of just found his place. But even with Martin Stecklenberg behind him, he's shown absolutely no signs of faltering. He now looks a lot more solid than he did last season. I think he's got one of those. He could have those games where he just saves everything, and he could cause problems. He's not been as hit and miss this season as he was at the start.
I was going to say, if you have a look at the number of clean sheets they've had this season, then he's got something about him.
And with a defence that isn't as impressive as the sort of record shows, it's like it's more the sort of sum of the parts than just individual defensive excellence that sort of come together. And the defensive midfield as well really helps them.
Mm-hmm. And what on the subject, good news, Gooners. Fiorentina are level at Shite Bowl Lane, so that's good news. Mm-hmm. Just touching on sort of Monaco as a whole, we had two other questions, which I'll sort of draw a line under the preview part with. One was from Luke Chubb on our Facebook page when he said, are we the more favourable draw for Monaco fans? Because I know a lot of Arsenal fans were immediately hanging the bunting out and saying, well, that's us into the next round then. And I was the first one to say, hang on a second, it's not going to be that easy. And on the similar line, there's one for Danny there. Abnor Salili, I think that's how you pronounce it on our Twitter account. He was saying, are we underestimating Monaco? So what's the viewpoint in France with this draw and the Monaco sort of idea of coming to Emirates? Are they confident, as confident as some of our fans are?
I think Monaco were fairly happy because you look at some of the teams that are in there. Arsenal are a good team, but they're not at the sort of top echelon of European teams, no offence. And I think for Arsenal, it's like you look at the teams you could have got, it's like, yeah, we've got Monaco. You could have had like Real, Bayern, and stuff like that. So yeah, Monaco's favourable, but it does favour the way Monaco play. It favours because Arsenal will attack. You've got their attacking talent, and Monaco will be fine sitting back. They'll be fine letting Arsenal come on to them, and they're going to come to the Emirates to get a draw. Be it a goalless draw would be their best bet. One each they'd have to score, and then they'll go to the Stade Louis, which will be a weird atmosphere because even if it was ever full, which it isn't, it only holds 18,000. Even when they won the league, they were only averaging 10, which is easy to sort of slate. But when you realise that Monaco has an official population of 60,000, but only 30,000 people actually live there on a day-to-day basis, so you're getting a third of them coming to watch a game. It's not bad actually, but it still creates a really weird atmosphere because it's never full. If anyone saw the Coupe de Ligue game against Bastia, they brought 4,000 fans from Corsica and they made the atmosphere. There was an atmosphere because of them. So it's going to be, and I think players find it hard to play in that sort of situation where it's a big game, but there's no one here. and it takes a special kind of attitude to, because I'm sure I've never played professional football and I never will, but I imagine having an atmosphere around you does, although you sort of block it out to an extent, I'm sure that will still spur you on. The big Champions League nights, the anthem, the crowd, there won't be that. I'd imagine there'll be 10,000 at the very most, if that, depending on what Arsenal bring, it might boost that a little bit.
I was going to say a lot of Arsenal supporters are buying tickets from Monaco.
Yeah.
Because our allocation is like 17.
Yeah, people often mention me, do you have to buy a ticket before the game? No, turn up in Monaco even a minute before, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it, they'll usher you straight in. But I think, Arsenal, the way Arsenal play, I'm no expert on how Arsenal's in-depth tactics, but with the players that you have and the expectation to go through, it sort of plays into Monaco's hands as to how they want to play. And that's what's happened in Ligue 1, because they were expected to attack and be the force, and they couldn't quite do it. But then when everyone realised they weren't that good, they were allowed to sit back and hit on the break, and it all worked for them a lot better. Monaco will be coming for a goalless draw. I have no doubts about that whatsoever. They'll be there to frustrate, hit on the break if they can, but they're not, I imagine they won't push too much going forward. They'll be back at the Stade Louis where they'll maybe take a couple more chances, but again, they will still play the counter-attacking game. So I think Monaco will be quite happy with Arsenal. As much as you can be, and I think Arsenal need to respect what this team has done in the league sort of recently, and players that they have in positions that could cause problems.
Yes, I don't think you can get a more thorough preview on any other Arsenal-related podcast than that. So that's brilliant stuff. And as Arsenal fans, we know all about trying to create an atmosphere at our home ground because sometimes it can be a struggle at the Emirates. So it'll be the clash of those. They still got the car park under the pitch at Monaco.
They still have the car park, yeah.
Jesus, they are. I presume they are still trying to. Are they still trying to move stadiums, or is that not happening now because of the money? Or
It's one of those. What's the point? Because no one's going to come watch them anyway. No matter unless you moved it to the middle of France, they've got fans all around the country because people might say though PSG are only 45 years old now. They have no history really. Monaco is a historic club. They won the league a couple of times back in the days. They've had players like Klinsmann and all that. So they've got a history. So it's just there's no one there to watch it. I think that's something that Rybolovlev maybe should have done a bit of research into when he bought the club, that there is no sort of upscaling to this team. You will get 10,000 and that's about it. When you look at like St Etienne, Nantes, Lens, these teams that you could buy for a pittance and they've already got the fans there. Monaco, from a sort of commercial point of view, from a selling merchandise, there really wasn't a lot there that you were going to improve. So yeah, it's a bizarre club because there's history without being much else about them, really.
More history than Chelsea. And they have got a lovely kit. Not that counts for anything.
Got a lovely kit. It's one of the most iconic kits, I think, going.
Yeah, it's a beautiful kit. I want to start to bring Holic and Danny back in. I don't know if Danny's fallen asleep or not, but
I'm watching the Celtic game 2-2.
Oh, good stuff. Thank
Celtic
you. And also,
are dominating.
Dynamo Kiev are down to 10 men, so there's hope for Gangon fans all around the world yet. So, I wanted to touch on sort of steer it in an Arsenal direction, but keeping it French. Obviously, this is Arsene Wenger's first trip back to Monaco, and it'll be interesting to sort of see the various bits and bobs that are done in the journalistic point of view of his return and looking back at memories. Danny, am I right in saying that you've got some sort of facts and random bits and bobs from Arsene Wenger pre-Arsenal that you would like to share with us?
Well, I've got his entire managerial career, including cups and the players that he signed. Like he went there in 1987-88, and did he win the League in his first season?
Yeah, well, they came first, yeah.
Yeah, so I've got it here. I thought my own typing had gone wrong. And he got to that season, he signed Glenn Hoddle and Mark Haitley. Next season, they come third. They were runners-up in the French Cup and the quarter-final of the European Cup, and he signed George Weah. The next season, third. The semi-final of the Cup Winners' Cup, didn't really do much in the French Cup, got knocked out in the first game. The next season after that, it was second. They won the French Cup and third round of the UEFA Cup. And then the next season, second in the French League, so he's doing really well. The French Cup was cancelled after the Furiani disaster, where 18 people died. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah. Marseille against Bastia, and just moments before kick-off, they built a temporary stand to cram people in, and it was not, let's say, dodgy French construction, to say the least, and it basically has collapsed on itself. And yeah, it's still marked to this day, the Furiani disaster. It's a horrible thing. It's like, Philippe Auclair from the Football Weekly podcast, he's got a friend, we did a piece on FFW about it, sort of translated from he was there, sort of phoned his wife moments before it and was talking about how unsafe it was, and yeah, that was a terrible thing to happen.
18 people sadly passed. So they cancelled the French Cup that year because I think they got to the final. The Cup Winners' Cup, they were runners-up, so that's... they'd another good season in that. And that season he'd signed Jurgen Klinsmann. The next season they finished third. Didn't do anything in the French Cup. Cup Winners' Cup second round. Things are starting to fall apart. The next season he finished ninth. Semi-final of the Champions League, which is where I think he made his name, which is when I first became aware of Wenger.
That's such a very typical French thing, is you get to the semi-final of the Champions League but you finish ninth in the league because you just can't sustain in both competitions. You look at Auxerre, who are now struggling in League 2. It wasn't that long ago they were in the Champions League. It's such a formulatic thing that happens. You look at any league table and track it, it happens all the time.
And then in his final season, 94-95, they were 17th when he got sacked. He'd won 2 out of 8 games, 17th of September 1994. Then after that, he went off to play in Japan, to manage in Japan in Nagoya Grampus 8, who had a wonderful system where you didn't have draws. So first season, 52 games, 32 wins, 20 losses. But yeah, so then I got pictures of him, and then his youth career, he was FC Duttelheim, which is trying to find any information out about those sort of teams is almost impossible. That's 1963, and then he went on to play for AS Mustig, which is in Division 4 East, and then he was at Mulhouse, and then he was at Strasbourg, and then the other Strasbourg he was at for a while. Then he went assistant manager for Cannes, and then he started at Nancy. So there you go. It's all on my website. I'm not going to tell you what it is because I don't want people going there and annoying me.
Well, there you go.
I'll take it to my grave.
You take it to your grave. must be something about you, Andrew. Dynamo Kiev have now been reduced to 9 men, so they're trying their best to fly the French flag over in Guingamp at the moment.
And Inter have just scored,
Inter
so
back in front
3-2.
as well, yeah,
And the other one I've got, go on.
No, that was...
You did well. You did well to cover his career over at Monaco without mentioning Marseille.
Why?
And the means they used to win the league
Bernard
at
Tapie,
Monaco's
wasn't it?
expense.
Yeah, and then they were relegated.
Allegedly.
There
wasn't. This has been, it was proven,
Yes.
That's when Tony Cascarino went to play over there, and I think they were Division 2 champions 2 years in a row. Or some kind of thing like that. Tony Cascarino was getting 50 goals a season. It says that in his book, and I read the book years ago. The only other thing I've got is the number of players that Wenger has bought from France. There's 31 of them, spent £97 million. First one was Remy Gard from Strasbourg in August '96, and the last one was Yaya Sanogo.
Well, that's a beautiful segue, Danny.
Let's see if you can guess which one annoys me the most.
Gervinho?
Nope.
Oh.
Was it 10 million for someone with 1 year left on his contract? Bye, Gervinho. Cheers, mate.
10.5 million. Yeah, poor bloke. Never really worked out for him. So he bought 7 players from Monaco, 3 from Marseille, 3 from Bordeaux, 3 from Auxerre, and 2 and 1 from all the rest of them.
It was one that he bought from Monaco that annoyed me the most.
Well, I'm looking here. Gramandi, Petit, Christopher Ray, William Huck.
William Huck. Jesus, that's a name from the past.
Armand Traoré. Getting closer to the top. Park Chu-young.
There you go.
Whatever. How much was his fee? Because I've got it here as 1.8, but it wasn't, was it?
Bags of goals for Monaco, didn't he, at the time?
And you know why it annoyed me the most?
No.
Go on.
Because you poached him from a hotel in Lille.
That's right.
Oh,
Lille,
he was about to sign, wasn't he?
Lille were dead keen, weren't they?
Didn't he say, I've got to go outside and make a phone call, then jumped on a plane and fucked off to England?
The story is apparently someone went to his door, someone from Lille, to say his car was outside and he'd gone. And from knowing the city, I imagine the Crown Plaza Hotel is right outside the Gala Europe where the Eurostar is. So he's not got far to go to escape to get on the Eurostar. And it's just one of those moves that you're thinking he's going to do nothing at Arsenal whatsoever, but he could really have benefited us as because with players gone. I was going to get him on my shirt and everything because he was great for Monaco. And he basically ruined that poor guy's career.
So why did he sign? Was it simple or just for merchandise reasons? Because the only game he played in, as a sub v Man United, I think.
Was that the capital?
He played in the Capital Cup. The Premier League
Yeah.
game was against Man United. And that's the only one that was on telly all across the world. So did he sign just so the club could merchandise him and get an anchor into Korea?
It definitely sounds like it, doesn't it? 'Cause I think from his career point of view, he's doing better at Lille, but you're never going to turn down that sort of offer, are you?
He shouldn't. And he's off playing in the same league as Ali Adier, I think, at the moment.
Qatar,
somewhere over there.
isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's somewhere over there. Anyway, you said perfect segue. What was it? Because I've nibbled on.
No, I was just going to say perfect segue, and I wanted to bring Andrew in along with Holic on this one, just to talk about some Arsenal players, past and present. Do you want to start past or do you want to start present, Danny? I'll let you decide.
Oh, I'm always a man for the past. I live in the past.
I thought you might. Holic, I want to just come to you then. I'm going to give you five names, and I want you to see if you can conjure up a couple of memories that leap to mind. Some of them are a little bit obvious, but I know we did the Invincible specials and we talked about a lot of these. But talk to me a little bit. Thierry Henry, Robert Pires, Manu Petit, Patrick Vieira, and Nicolas Anelka. I'm going to give you those 5, and then I'll come to Andrew on his views sort of on how they did in England. But share a couple of your memories or things that stand out from those, apart from the obvious.
Oh, God. Apart from the obvious.
There's a loaded gun for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, well, that rules out Thierry Henry's goal against Manchester United and his celebration against Tottenham.
Oh, we can always bring them up.
You've got to mention them. No, just generally, Thierry Henry then nutmegging Danny Mills down by the corner flag. That was a moment of absolute beauty and right in front of us as well. Robert Pires. I actually got to meet him. There was end of season thing that was laid on by, let me see, who was it? Who's the washing machine people? Indesit. And he spent probably about an hour with 3 or 4 of us. And just, as well as being a good-looking guy, as well as being a great footballer, he's also a really good guy because he puts you at your ease. And it starts the interview by saying, do you want to do this in Portuguese or in English? He's got a sense of humour. He's got everything. Now, who else was there? Nicholas and Nelka. Where'd you start with him? I got the feeling when he first came into the side, it was at the expense of Ian Wright when Arsene was trying very much to sort of ease him out the door. So he didn't really... I didn't rate him that much early doors, although you can't argue what he did for us. The goals he scored in that first double season, in the second half of it, and then up until 2000 was it? He went.
Yeah.
He was one of those guys who didn't quite make the most of his talents, did he? Because he actually had the lot. He had the pace. He wasn't bad in the air. Good feet, but you got the feeling always, whether it was his attitude or whether it was his advisors, things didn't quite work out for him. Who else did you have on there?
Just Vieira and Petit really is to go on that list.
Well,
what a combo!
Don't you wish you could still have a young Vieira and Petit in that midfield now? Because then you wouldn't have to worry about who your defensive midfield player was going to be and whether Coquelin was going to be it for the next 5 years. But they could do it at both ends of the pitch, and in terms of dominating other midfields physically, I've never seen a pairing like it. Loved them.
No, unbelievable. Andrew, what's sort of the views? I mean, obviously, a lot is made, as you touched on earlier, about the players that leave Liga, and it does seem to be that as soon as they get any modicum of success or fame or anything, that they're off. The viewpoints, any sort of stories that leap to mind about when any of those 5 were transferred to Arsenal or what they've done since?
I mean, those ones are before sort of my time, before I cared about friendship or any of that. So it's kind of, I know them more from the time at Arsenal. The one that the Anelka one's always an interesting one because you said about the advisors, and there was a story years ago, I think it was in 442, and it was talking about when he went to Real Madrid, and his advisor, his brother, demanded that you get the number 9 jersey. This was one of his demands. And then Morientes found this out, so then Raul and Hierro all found this out and didn't speak to him straight away. And then Elka's like, well, I didn't ask for it. It wasn't me. And he said, like, why would I stay at a club when no one wants to talk to me? And that's why he quickly sort of moved on, and he gets his stick for sort of moving around all the time, but one of those, like they've made it a very sort of poisonous dressing room for him before he even steps in the door, so he's sort of moved on. But yeah, his second spell at PSG was a bit of a failure. Really, he started well, then faded away quickly. Henri was well before my time at Monaco. I still remember him as a winger when he was in Juventus in France. Pires said, really, what a nice guy he is. We had an interview set up with him for FFW. And Jeremy, who's his mum's from Metz, so massive Pires fan, but soft spot for Arsenal, got to go meet Robert Pires, and they didn't have time to do the whole interview, so we had to go pick his kids up. And Pires like, well, we can do it again next week if you want as well. So he got to go meet World Cup winner Robert Pires 2 weeks in a row, and he was so excited because in France you got the whole, do you say tout or vous for you? Vous is the very sort of formal, which you would say to Robert Pires if you met him. And then I think Pires texted him and put tout in the text. So I was like, I'm on 2 terms with Robert Pires. It's just like phenomenal. And I think this was how nice a guy is, that he took his time to meet twice to finish off the interview, which was phenomenal.
Yeah, so that's a really nice, classy. He always strikes me as a classy guy, even just to look at the way he speaks. Very eloquent. So
always warms and cockles my heart when you see him and Henri sitting next to each other at Arsenal.
Oh yes, yeah. You can
it's
just tell there's love there.
Having a little giggle.
Oh yeah.
Trying to flog each other Renaults.
I wanted to, I wanted to touch just before we come on to current players. I did just want to touch on Remy Gard, who was, if anyone remembers this far back, was Arsene Wenger's first signing at Arsenal with Patrick Vieira. There's a lot of talk in the UK, Andrew, that he's being lined up as the the John Carver replacement when he's inevitably binned off at the end of the season. A, would you like to see him work in England? And B, could you see the Newcastle move happening?
Yeah, I've wrote about this for 442s. I think he's probably the perfect guy for that job. Where it's a poison chalice anyway, but he's got all the sort of attributes to do it. He's obviously got the apprenticeship under Wenger a couple of times. He was at Monaco as well, and the way he plays, he likes to develop youth. The way that Leon are playing now, a lot of that started with the work that Remy Gard did in the academy and as first team boss. And I think it'd be great to see him come back to England. He's got the English language from some playing in Arsenal. So yeah, why not? He can get that French contingent playing again, and I think it'd be a really exciting move for them. He's a bit of a character at times depending on what. I think sometimes you don't see the full sort of the character person in a different language. That'll take some time to come out, but yeah, it'd be a really good move, and a good move for them, good move for him. And I kind of hope it was going to work out before this season, but I'm guessing it's going to be the summer, and probably between him and St Etienne's Christophe Gaultier.
I think he's go on.
I was just going to say, which would be equally disappointing because he's doing really well at St Etienne. There was talk that he was interesting Rennes as well, wasn't there? Because they're looking to, there could be a change happening there. They're in free fall at the moment. So,
they're a podcast in itself, Rennes.
Oh God, yeah. As I heard the other night on your French Football Weekly. Danny, what did you going to say there? Sorry.
Yeah, I was thinking Newcastle are a team that can never really do much in the league, and the only way they'll ever do anything is in the cups. And when Gard was at Lyon, they won the French Cup. He won the French champions, not the champions, what's it called? The Charity Shield?
Yeah, the Trophée des Champions.
That's it. And then he was got to the final of the League Cup twice. So, because he was only there for 3 seasons, and I was just, hold on, where's the wiki page gone? Oh, there it is. 51% win ratio from 117 games. And that's not bad. I think he would be a decent manager there. Plus, the club's half full of French players anyway.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a good thing, but I always liked Remy. I always felt a sense of security when he come on to play, because I was there the whole time that he was playing. He only played 31 league games for Arsenal. Wiki doesn't break it down into cup games as well, but he was a player who was much like Grimandi. He could just go and play anywhere. And the fact that Wenger said, "When I'm at the club, I want him there," and when he got there, then he got Vieira in, and he just wanted there to interact with the whole club and get things ready before he was there. Yeah. So he obviously trusts him. And that's why I'm more surprised he's never come back as assistant manager. But I think the fact that he went off to be a manager probably shows why.
Probably shows why. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, he went to Lyon, spent a lot of years in the academy first before becoming sort of coach, and then first team coach. He's kind of gone through the different stages there. But you can see him at Arsenal at some point, can't you? It's sort of one of those moves that you think will happen, but depends on what route it goes down. Newcastle to Arsenal, that's something that happens quite a lot now. So
it's always definitely sort of laid out for the future potentially. You can certainly see it. I want to touch on a couple of current players, and again, Holic and Danny, I'll come to you sort of individually and then get Andrew's thoughts as we go along. I've picked out just a select few. Most of them are, they're all currently in the first team squad. Let's start with a bang and go upwards, and we'll start with Yaya Sanogo. Holic, I'll come to you first of all. Obviously, there's a lot of criticism of him before he went on loan. People saying he was a Bambi on ice, didn't have anything technically good about him, and blah, 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 blah. I'm getting a bit sick of hearing it, to be honest, because I like the kid, and I think there's something there. Give us your sort of views on him, and then I'll go to Andrew for his views on how he's perceived in France.
I think you probably hit the nail on the head there. He's getting a lot of stick for a young player he has got something about him. There's no doubt about it. You watched him in pre-season, you thought there's going to be hopefully some goals in the guy, because who would they play when he did score about 4 or something?
The Benfica. Was it Benfica in the Emirates Cup? Was it Benfica?
No. This was when they were out.
Oh, when he was at Auxerre.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
he got 4 in a game.
Was it Laval? Yeah, Laval.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
when he's got to Arsenal, clearly there's a problem when you've got a guy playing at centre forward who's not scoring, and you wonder whether he's a guy who, when he gets one or two, they will flow, or whether he's perhaps going to be best off being loaned out, finding his level, and whether he comes back or not, who knows? But he hasn't convinced, although he has got obviously strength. He's done quite well as a target man, but that key area of getting on the end of chances and scoring, it's a big question mark for a striker, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We had a question actually. Alan Weinsman asked what your thoughts would be, Andrew, particularly on how he's perceived in the UK or since he's moved to Arsenal, whether he's thought of highly in France, and also whether they think that his loan spell at Palace might actually bring a player out of him. What's the viewpoint in France as to, is there a viewpoint even? Is he talked about at all?
You always get what do people say in France about it? And they don't really talk about it much until on 21s play. The 21s get some coverage, and that always gets his Arsenal's Yaya and Ogo. And I think there was just a lot of surprise that he moved straight from Auxerre, obviously playing in Ligue 2, all the way to the Premier League. It's a massive jump. It's a massive jump that's going from League 2 to Ligue 1 for some players, but to go all the way to the Premier League, it was like, this could be a bit risky. You look at Paul Georges Ntep, who's went from Auxerre to Rennes, and he's still finding his way in Ligue 1. And yeah, he had a couple of games in Ligue 1 for Auxerre before they went down, and he looked more like, it wasn't a target man. He was more, he'll drift wide, let him run with the ball. But then on the 21s, he's shown that he can be the sort of central referee. He can hold it up, and he does really, really well for them. So I think this is more, if you give him games, it's probably just was too much of a jump too soon. So the Palace move is ideal. Get him games, let him find his confidence. Whether he's ever going to be a starting striker for Arsenal, that I think is still up for debate, and I'm not sure myself whether he will be. He'll be a good League One striker. I don't know whether he's ever going to be a wonderful Premier League striker.
Yeah. Do you think the stick he's getting is fair? I mean,
No.
Technically he does look a little bit sort of lots of legs, but I remember a certain Adebayor was very much the same when he first came to Arsenal, and you very quickly said no. So you don't think that's?
I don't think the stick is. People expect him to come to Arsenal straight away and sort of score goals and be this exciting, amazing player, but he needs to. He's still a kid. He's still playing. So he's just finished playing on 21. He's only 22. He's not really. This is his first kind of season in top flight football, really. So you need to give the kid time to find himself. And yeah, his plays adapt since he was at the first days at Auxerre. But if you watch any of those goals, like against Laval, before he scored a hat-trick against Tours, he's not really the target man. He's got pace to get by, he uses his strength once he gets past them. There's a goal, I can't remember who it was against, I'm sure it was in Ligue 1. It's probably the only one he scored, actually, against Toulouse. And if I can find that, we'll give you it for the site. And it showed really good touch and technique to go around players and finish. So he's definitely got all the attributes. It's just coming together for, as I said, finding his level, which I'm not convinced will be Arsenal, but I think he's still got a really good career ahead of him.
Yeah.
I think probably that when you think about it, what we paid for him, we were buying the promise that had been identified in a French under-21 international, and to be critical of that is wrong. What we did was we invested a little bit of money in able to be able to hopefully save ourselves a lot of money 2 years down the line.
And if you look,
it may not work out.
You look at Arsenal's youth teams that you mentioned at the start. I go watch Man City's. It's not English kids anymore that are dominating these teams. It's players from all over Europe, and it's all. If we can take all these players in, if you get one or two that make it, that's a winner. That's your investment paid off. And I think that's Sonogo was the same sort of idea. There's a few years down the line when he was like 19, 20. You take the gamble. If it works, fantastic. If it doesn't, what have you lost?
Yes, Nicolas Anelka.
Just looking at his stats, when he was playing for the Auxerre youth team when he was 14, he scored. Was it? I think it was that. Yeah, he had 25 goals in 14 games and 17 assists. And then when he was France under 16, 18 goals in 18 games. And you add up all these France caps, which are all under 16 to under 21, 39 goals in 61 games. Now, I rate the player. I mean, he's 6'4". He's only just gone 22. I mean, for God's sake, people are expecting everything from him. And I think the worst thing he ever did was get that hat-trick in. Was it 3 or 4 goals he got in the...
4 in the Emirates Cup,
yeah, in the Emirates Cup. And that was the worst thing that could ever happen to him. Because everyone thought, oh, here we go. He's going to start every game. 50 goals a season. I rate him so much, I've actually got him in my fantasy football team playing for Palace. Because I think at some point this season he is going to bang a few goals in, then he'll be on a run. And I think first of all it's just a bit of confidence and plus a bit of match fitness. And people lay off him. He's only 22 for God's sake. What were you doing at 22? Sitting at home playing the Xbox and
you certainly weren't
touching
changing
yourself
an FA Cup final.
Yeah,
not
You
forget
didn't know
that.
what an Xbox was when I was 22.
I could barely get out of a box at
I
that
think
age.
I was playing Football Manager 93, 94 on the Amiga.
Yeah,
Could never sign Gary Lineker back from Japan, you bastard!
and you could barely get that out of the box either.
Oh.
While you're there, Danny, let's talk about a player that you've affectionately named Mad Frankie.
Because I don't
Andrew,
like the cock jokes.
to you and I, Andrew, that's Francis Coquelin. And as you've probably seen all over Twitter, the Arsenal fans take great hilarity in various cock puns. So, Danny, give us your... I mean, I know you're a fan, but give us your thoughts on the game, then I'll go to Andrew on his views.
On the game?
No, on Coquelin, you donut.
I thought he said, give me your thoughts on the game.
No.
I think has he agreed to sign the contract in principle?
He's signed it, I think.
He signed jolly good. I mean, I think he was probably only going to be on 30, 40 grand a week, but considering 6 months ago it was on his arse and on his back. Apparently he was at Charlton, played 5 games, got 3 or 4 man of the matches, and they said, we're just about to extend your loan, and he went, oh, okay then. And then Wenger went, no, you're coming back, you're playing because we've got injuries. Come back, and then the rest will be history, and he's got everything in his game. I think people... Maybe you don't know with Wenger whether he let him go out to Leyton Orient, your boys, or whether and Freiburg and Charlton, whether he did that in the plan to go out, learn your trade, come back as a better player, or whether it was a bit like a few of the other players, like
Joel Campbell.
Yeah, Joel Campbell. No, well, debatable on Joel Campbell, but definitely Giroud. With him, it was just loan out until you fuck off and don't come back. That's the way I thought it was with Coquelin, because I think he'll be ever scarred with the game where he played against Man United in the 8-2, didn't he? Mm-hmm. I think that was one of his first games for us. So I think, how old is he? I'm just looking. He's 23. Yeah. I think he's got everything to his game, and the fact that he's come back and the willingness to show that he hasn't given up is good. And I like him, and I think he can do a job there. I just hope that he gets the rest of the season to show what he can do, and then maybe Wenger say to him, look, we're still going to sign someone in the summer, maybe Schneiderlin, who I've loved.
More on him later.
Dear. Sorry, Dom, if you're listening.
We've one of our regular panelists, Andrew, is a chap called Dom who lives in Australia, and whenever you mention Morgan Schneiderlin's name, he goes a little bit weak at the knees. So
I understand that.
We'll certainly touch on him later on. Andrew, what's the viewpoint of if any? Has there been much sort of in the French media with regards to Francis Coquelin's seemingly rise from nowhere to the Arsenal starting lineup?
I think more of shock. I think if anyone watched him at Lorient, you're thinking, how is this guy now playing for Arsenal? How is he starting for Arsenal? Sure, this can't be the best option they've got. He's one of those that I vaguely remember him making any sort of impact at Lorient. Nothing of note. Didn't stand out. Couldn't really nail down a place there in that team, which usually if you're on loan there or you do something well, you'll get a place in that team for a while. But yeah, someone that I'm surprised that he's now starting for Arsenal, if I'm honest. But yeah, I mean, as we said with Sonogo, he is only 23, so he's kind of really young, and if he's doing well, fair play to him. Whether I've got a bit of criticism of Wenger over the years of not signing someone properly in defensive midfield, and I'm that. Is Coquelin the best option, or is it kind of more of is he stumbled across him? That's more. But yeah, I've not watched him for Arsenal, so I can't see what he's doing. But for Lorient, he was pretty much a non-entity.
Yeah, fair point. The final one I want to touch on before I give a nod to one other, but the final one I want to touch on, we had a question from Antoine, friend of the pod on Twitter, and it's on Laurent Koscielny. And he wants to ask you, Andrew, why you think that Sacco at Liverpool is preferred to Laurent Koscielny. Am I right in saying this is something to do with Deschamps and his love for Sacco, or is it just purely a hipster thing, or is there something in it?
Koscielny against the Ukraine got himself sent off, had a bit of a nightmare, and then Sacco came in Paris and was pretty much the best player in the world for that one game. He was scoring goals, he was defending, he was doing everything. And Deschamps basically said it's like he was rewarding Sacco got France to the World Cup. There's no doubt about that. That performance from him was just phenomenal. And yeah, I think France have a problem. France needs some kind of identity. In Sakho's like PSG born and bred from the capital. He wears his heart on his sleeve. It's not done as well for Liverpool overall, but in France PSG had to let him go because Thiago Silva didn't want him there because he didn't speak Portuguese. So he was sort of forced out, and PSG fans still love him. The French love him. It's more of he's never let France down. The problem with Koscielny is he's not young anymore, and there's just so many great young defenders coming through that you can't. It's hard to pick just 4. Even now, you're thinking you got like Sakho. He's not going to drop him no matter how he plays until he lets France down. Do you pick Koscielny? You've got Varane. You've got Zuma coming through now. You've got Aymeric Laporte. It's kind of those. It's a position that they've not got a lacking in options. So Koscielny basically loses out because of his age and the downside of so many good players coming through and how well Sakho's done under Deschamps. It's nothing against Koscielny. It's just bad timing, really.
Yeah. I think from our point of view as Arsenal fans, the less games he plays for France on that Achilles, the better for us.
I always wonder why you get like when Hatem Ben Arfa and Cabaye and that were at Newcastle, why people on Twitter go mad when Deschamps didn't pick them. You're like, well, it means he's not going to play and get injured. You should be happy about this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're the same with. I know myself and Danny are very much not fans of international football, so the less players we've got in international squads, the better from our point of view.
That makes 3 of us.
There you go. Holic, just while you're there, I did just want to give a quick nod, and again, I'd be interested to see if there's any viewpoint in France on this. Abu Diaby, the forgotten man. Rumour has it. I mean, he'd do a job for the Pirates even on one leg, but that's another story. This is a guy that Arsene Wenger has publicly backed time and time again. It's no fault of his own that obviously his legs are bound together with blue tack and sellotape nowadays. Supremely talented footballer. I know that there was a time, I think Andrew probably can confirm this, that the French national side were looking to build a team around him. They rated him that highly. Holic, do you think there is any chance of us ever seeing him put on an Arsenal shirt again, or do you think that the inevitable retirement will be what news we get in the summer?
I have a feeling that Arsenal will move heaven and earth to get him back in an Arsenal shirt. Obviously, it's clear from the way that he has gone on rewarding him with new contracts, what he thinks of him as a player, what we know he can be as a player, but I'm afraid what Dan Smith did to him, it seems to me inevitable that this summer is going to be a parting of the ways, because you can't go on paying a guy for not playing for so long, even though it's not his fault. He's just got no ankle left, has he?
No, absolutely. Is there a viewpoint in France, Andrew? Again, is this a guy that's been forgotten, or do people still wistfully look and hope?
He's kind of a forgotten man now. They've got Moussa Sissoko as a sort of all-action midfielder now, and there was a time when he was going to be the guy who they built this team around, the mixture of defence and attack and the long legs that could cover the midfield in seconds. He's only played 16 times for France, which says it all about the injuries. And he's more mentioned in a sort of laughing sort of, is he ever going to play? The same way that the English media didn't, is he ever going to play? Probably not. And I feel sorry for him from some extent, but I kind of think part of you must just think, why is he still just face the music, mate? It's time's up. It's time to move on. And you could be a coach. You could coach kids to save your ankles for normal walking around rather than trying to play football, because it's not going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Apologies, by the way, we got a bit of static on the line with Holic for some reason. Not quite sure what's happening there, but so apologies for that.
I've got a question for Andrew.
Yeah, I was just going to say, have you got any questions? So that's brilliant timing again.
Did you have a mini heart attack in the summer when you saw that your boys had signed an A. Diaby?
Is that Alou, the striker, isn't it?
Abdoulaye Diaby.
I did.
He's been around. He's been mentioned for ages. He didn't join this summer. He joined before when a team called Sedan basically went under and went bankrupt and had to get rid of all the players. And he joined as a midfielder. This is the impression I got from a scout that I used to speak to. And then he went to Moucron on loan, one of Lille's feeder teams, and he's become a striker and scored like 12 goals in Belgium. And now we've hastily brought him back to try and make up for the awful performances of Divock Origi. So no, I'd heard of him before. So luckily I know it wasn't the Diaby, but that would have been that'd have been an awful take. Park Ji-young offers and send us Diaby. That's not a good deal.
Hardly fair, is it?
No.
We'll sort of leave the Arsenal.
You've not mentioned Debuchy. I was waiting for Debuchy.
Do you know what? I was going to, and I was conscious of time. But go on, give us. I'll tell you what. Give us Giroud and Debuchy together, because obviously he's an ex-Lille boy, isn't he, Debuchy? So yeah, go for gold.
I'll go Debuchy first. He's one of the first players. He's one of those that it catches your eye because he gives his all. He's got his tattoos. He's a walking yellow card. And I think it was my second trip to Lille was on my birthday, and I went to the Lille shop and they'd sold out of the home tops. It was the year that we were the champions. I wanted to get the badge on with the champions. So I got the away top and I thought, who am I going to get on? I thought, I'm not going to get Azar because he's going to go. And I thought, I'm going to get Mathieu Debuchy. Got the Debuchy 2 on the back, went to the game against Sochaux, and he got sent off.
There's a theme developing.
So I was just like, yeah, cheers, Matthew. That was not. It's a shame the way it ended at Lille because he should have left in the summer, that summer that they went to Newcastle the following winter, because he played the Euro 2012. His stock had never been higher. So just let the guy go. He was born like 2 kilometres from the new stadium. Lille born and bred. He's done his time. Let him go. And they hung on to it. He did nothing for that first 4 or 5 months, and then he went and got his move. And I hope he comes back from injury and does really well. As a player and a guy, he's always seems really nice, and it's one of those he always comes back to the training ground and says hello to everyone. Nice guy, and hope he does well. But yeah, one of my first favourite Lille players from that championship winning team.
Yeah, he's I have to say he is currently the name and number on my away shirt. So nice. The trend continues. Although I do tend to go for the defenders or the lesser known players. I do actually own a Francis Coquelin shirt when he had number 22. So that was when he was not in the side last season. So there you go. And Olivier Giroud. I mean, again. Giroud, not Giroud. Sorry, I done it again. Danny, I blame you.
That's the only one I get right. I've only just stopped calling Sagna.
Yes, you have. OG 12. There you go. What's your thoughts on Olivier?
I absolutely love Olivier Giroud. He's never played for Lille. He was never going to, but he's just one of those players that Montpellier team that won the league just captured everyone's imagination. And he
was that the one at the last game of the season.
Was
that your Lille boys? I know I was watching it, and it was like there was a couple of teams that could win it on the last game of the season. It was one hell of a finale to a season.
Yeah, I went to Montpellier that weekend. I've got a friend from FAW, Philip, who lives in Montpellier, and we thought I want to go see the team that are going to be the champions. I mean, you want to go see why they're playing so well, and kind of looking at the calendar. Second last week against Lille, that'll do. Little weekend in Montpellier. The weather's quite nice. Why not? And it's a weird situation, and I love telling this story because it's kind of as running FFW, I try not to be biased against a lot of teams. PSG make it very, very hard, but I try.
No, it's okay to hate them. Monks.
I don't. If they were playing really good football and they were likeable and didn't have that cunt Zlatan Ibrahimovic, I'd quite like them, but they do. So I have to hate them. So it's like it's the Scottish thing that anyone but England. It was anyone but PSG. Lille had to win in Montpellier and then win the last game of the season, hoping that PSG sort of drop points and Lille could still win the league. But if PSG they were playing, I think they were playing Auxerre or Rennes. I think they were playing Rennes. If PSG won that game, Lille couldn't win the league. So it was kind of like, well, then you want Montpellier to win. So at half time, you check the scores, PSG are 2-0 up. Fuck, we're not winning the league. Allez, Montpellier, there's like shouting for them. But every time Lille went forward and going, do I want Lille to score? No, I don't. Yeah, I do. Shit. Because at this point, I'd never seen Lille win in person. I went 10 games without seeing them win. So I was like, I want my first win, but I don't want PSG to win the league. Oh my god! But it was like 30,000 people there. Everyone's got flags. Everyone's singing. It's hard not to get wrapped up. And so when Giroud with his electric pace, broke down the left and sort of squared it for Karim Akfana and they scored. You couldn't help but get taken away by that. And scenes of him stripping off after into his underwear. It was a phenomenal player from Montpellier. He was over there for like a season and a half, really it was. But he was phenomenal. He never scored with his head for someone who was quite a big burly centre forward, which was bizarre. But his technique, his left foot, everything about him was great, and I was so happy that they won that league that season. It was the story, I think, of any top European league. That was the story, was Montpellier, and I didn't see them win the league because I had to go to Auxerre and not lose, but I was there in Montpellier, and there was like, as I said before, I had a season ticket to Celtic for 7 years. I've watched Henrik Larsson and all that. I've watched Celtic win the league. I've never seen anything like the scenes in Montpellier, people hanging off of fountains with flares and everything. It was phenomenal, and Giroud a massive part of that. So yeah, love the guy. I'm glad he's now gets a lot of stick off Arsenal fans. I think still maybe
moronic
not
Arsenal fans.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
And when you watch football, you watch his movement and the way that he brings people into play and the little touches and the flicks. He is a fantastically technically gifted footballer. I mean, he missed some chances now, but you're going to miss chances. But now he's settled it. I think he's grown into himself. If you've seen that Paddy Power advert, he's got confidence like no other, and he's just. I think it's one of those. Is he ever going to be a world class striker? Maybe not. Is he good enough to get lots of goals in Arsenal alongside Alexis Sanchez? Definitely.
Yeah.
Does he play a different role for France than he does for Arsenal? Because I often wonder if he didn't play with his
he
back
plays
to goal.
for Arsenal. That helps.
Yeah.
No, I mean with the role that he plays, because if you play for Arsenal, he plays with his back to goal, which is a notoriously hard position to play and on your own. Because although you have brilliant players behind you, he is ideally set for, I think, the old big man, little man up front. I often wonder if he played with someone like Ian Wright, like Alan Smith used to back in the day, would he be getting 30 goals a season easily?
He did it for Montpellier. Montpellier played 4-2-3-1, but there was an understanding that Younes Belhanda, Remy Cabella, when he played, and the wingers they'd always run past him. Whenever the ball was played up to Giroud, they'd run past him because they knew he was going to get either the header or he was going to chest it and flick it. He was going to do something to get that ball into play. So it was like a big man, little men sort of thing. For France, he suffers because of Karim Benzema, who for Real Madrid is phenomenal, but for France is hit and miss. And I've always said you could play Giroud at the top, you could play Benzema at any of the three positions and sort of in front of him and let them link up and it would work. But Deschamps still hasn't taken my call on that one. So, but yeah, when he played the World Cup, I thought he did really well. He was unlucky not to maybe start more games, but I think that France know how to get, I think, the best out of him. He just did to get him the ball and have people running off him, and obviously not watching Arsenal like you guys do. You need to get the ball into him, let Sanchez, Ozil guys make runs around him, and then you will get the best out of him.
Yeah, perfectly put, and I agree. I think he's, as Danny said, moronic Arsenal fans criticise him. People with a brain who actually see him, see what he brings. But I wanted to, I'm going to bring Holic and Danny back in briefly, but just before we sort of finish up with some questions from the listeners, I just wanted to take advantage of your knowledge of Liga. Particularly with the summer arriving, it's time to pillage League One again, I'm afraid. But Can you? There's four players. I just want a very brief sentence on what your thoughts are of them. And also, we had a question which I'll go into first from Gurpreet Singh Sonder, and he was saying, "Who is the most exciting prospect playing in the French league at the moment?" I've got a feeling one of these might be in this group I'm going to ask you about, but.
Well, since I've got an inkling of what the group's going to be, I'll try and think of someone outside of that.
You've done there.
At FFW, here comes the advert, we do a thing called the 50, which is the 50 best young players playing in Ligue 1, Ligue 2. So that's kind of something I've always got my eye on. One that I will pick that's maybe off the radar is Morgan Sanson of Montpellier, who sort of picked up the mantle when Remy Cabella left. He was playing sort of one of the two of the 4-2-3-1 before, and now he can play left, right, central. He's got really good balance. He's not a number 10, and he's not like a defensive mid. He sort of plays in the middle and just gets the ball and does his thing, and he's really good to watch. He's got that same sort of guile and glides around the pitch, and he's got a really good right foot, and he's one. Whether he's going to play in the Premier League or not, I'm not sure, because you always worry about these midfielders being a bit lightweight and are they going to get chucked out on the wing, which he's not. But if you ever get a chance to watch Montpellier, Morgan Sanson is definitely one to keep an eye out for.
There you go. There's your answers to that one. And the other question we had was from Pete Kennelly from Twitter. And he was saying, is there anyone in League One that could be a good fit specifically for Arsenal? Which is quite a nice segue into our other questions there.
It depends what position you're after, doesn't it?
Well, I'll give you a name. One of the four I was going to mention, Maxime Gonalons, Lyon. Do you think he'd be a good fit?
Undoubtedly, yes. And you know this, Chris, because I've written about it, that I think Gonalon is probably the man that Wenger should have signed maybe a year ago, if not more. He is everything you want in a defensive midfielder and more. He can drop back into defence if you're having defensive problems. He is better. I mean, Leon right now are playing it's like a 4-3-1-2, and he is the sort of anchor. He lets the two beside him go and do their thing. He covers the defence. He reads the game so well. He can pass. He's 25 now. You'd probably think, for League One terms, he's getting old because he should have left years ago, probably.
Yeah.
But if Wenger does want someone on a different planet from Francis Coquelin, Maxime Gonalon is the one. I would go all eggs in a basket, make sure he goes from Lyon to Arsenal in the summer if I was Arsene Wenger.
Good shout. Two others. Tom Canton mentioned this gentleman, as did Nikolai Teleso from Facebook. Nabil Fekir at Lyon. What's your thoughts on him?
Absolutely, I love Nabil Fekir. He sort of burst onto the scene this season. No one really expected anything to come from him. When he sort of teased us, he started against Rennes in Lyon's opening game, and he was the best player on the pitch, but then fell, hurt his shoulder, was missing for a couple of weeks and came back, and has just been phenomenal. He's had his off days. He's still only 21. He has games where he goes missing, but the link up with him, and I'm sure the one you're going to mention afterwards, Lacazette, has been great. He's still in the game though. I'd be really disappointed. I don't mind the players leaving, but I like them to leave when they're ready to leave. When you sort of know that there's maybe not much else they can do. They could benefit someone else. It's too early for him to leave Ligue 1. He's not quite sure what his position is yet, if I'm honest. He's sort of playing beside Lacazette in a 2. He can play, I think he's more of a number 10, but he's got pace. He finds little gaps. He's got a really nice low centre of gravity. He can dip in and out of defenders. And it's hard to. He's quite strong as well. He's got that sort of North African steel that it's hard to stop him when he gets going. Whether he would fit in at Arsenal or not, I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure where you'd play him. He seems to have an abundance of sort of number 10s, and he's a bit lightweight to play up front in the Premier League. Maybe give him 2 years if he's still at Lyon, see how he's doing then.
Yeah, you mentioned my man crush. There's two players, neither of which Danny can say. This is Lacazette and also Grzegorz Krychowiak, who's formerly of French League. I don't know why. I've just got a little bit of a thing. Another walking yellow card, but I like him. But yeah, we mentioned Lacazette. Now a lot of people, I got a bit bitter about this because I've liked him for number of years. I just the way he plays the game, he seems like a nice bloke. It's just this sort of athletic style reminded me of a young Henry, and I just have loved him for a number of years. And then all of a sudden this year he's hit form, and now every journalist and their uncle and everybody on Twitter, every YouTube scout is like, oh, this is the next guy for Arsenal. And I've been like, hang on a minute, I've been saying this for years. Are you as big a fan as I am?
Oh, undoubtedly, he's phenomenal, and it's been really nice to watch his sort of progress because he broke through and he was playing mostly because Leon used to play 4-3-3. This was their sort of ingrained in the club. They played 4-3-3, so he wasn't going to be the number 9, so he was playing on the wing. And it was a couple of seasons. If anyone has ever followed FFW for a while, we were always like, is he going to be the next star? Is he going to do it? And then when Remy Gard came in and Lissandro Lopez left, they went to sort of 4-4-2 or 4-4-1-1, and he got to play central, and it just came alive. You could see that he had the strength, he had the pace of playing out wide. He had that. I think something that's good for play strikers out wide for a bit, so they can learn where the ball's going to come from, when to make runs, and sort of where you'd want the ball to come from if you were in the. And it advances game so much, and he took the step up last season, got 15 goals playing beside Bafétimbi Gomis. And then Baffy left, and he became, this is now your team, Alex, and he has just took that ball and absolutely ran with it. It seems everything he hits finds the back of the net. He's got everything. He's got that pace. He can get the ball into feet. He can turn. There was a game against Leon. I think it's Lille. I think it was week 6 or 7. He absolutely ripped us apart. This was the so-called best defence in the league at the time, and he left us for dead. He would just get the ball 25 yards from goal, turn, away he went, and yeah, he's got it all. But I don't think he's going to move until after Euro 2016. This is my theory, and I'm going to stick with it until he moves, because Leon have got this ambition. The new stadium opens January 2016. Jean-Michel Aulas wants Lacazette to be there to lead out this team, possibly in the Champions League, they'll probably get knocked out by then. But at least in the league to have them walk out and be... So and with the new stadium, it gives Lyon a bit more financial backing. They don't have to sell their stars the way they did with Hugo Lloris, that went for like 12 million, which was a travesty. That it was worth more, but Lyon had to sell because we're in a bit of trouble. Now they're in a bit more of a solid position. They don't have to sell their stars so quickly, so they can hold on to them. There's going to be bids this summer. There's no doubt about that from all over the place. I mean, he's got 21 goals now, and we've still got like 3 months left. If he can get 25, if he can break Zlatan's 30, I'd be so happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's all going to depend on what someone's going to bid.
Yeah.
Because you look at what Eden Hazard went from Lille to Lyon, which was 30 to Chelsea, 32 million euros. Lacazette is in the same position, if not playing better. Eden Hazard got 20 goals when Lille came third that season. He got 9 the year before when they won the league. So the jump from Lacazette is even bigger than Hazard. So you're looking at for at least the same. All Arsenal are looking for at least the same, if not more, because he's got the contract 2018. It's going to be hard to get him in the summer. I think people will have to go big, and that's where I think maybe rules out Arsenal. How big can Arsenal really go on one player if you do want to try and get Gono on? And it's one of those things, if they get Gono on, they're helping Lyon not sell Lacazette as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's kind of that domino effect, isn't it, almost? And I'm happy to tell you, by the way, Gangon per level. So there you go. 1-1. Holic, I'm going to come to you just on a sort of other transfer. We'll kind of begin to wind things up just with listener questions. And one of the questions we had from, in fact, I've lost the name, but I'll ask it anyway. It was on Morgan Schneiderlin. Are you a fan, Holic? Is he sort of the guy? I know a lot of people are keen because he's Premier League ready. Do you still think that the defensive midfield position is one we need to strengthen, and would he be your choice?
2 ways of answering that. One is, I don't know that yet Francis Coquelin is or isn't going to be the real deal. We'll have a much better idea in May. I love what he's doing at the moment. He's kind of killed that boyish enthusiasm that he had when he first came back into the side, when he was a walking yellow card. He's now learnt how and when to make the challenges that will keep us in the game, if you like. But Schneiderlin, yes, I do like very much what I've seen of him. And so if Coquelin were to go off the boil, then I think that's probably a priority for us in the summer. And as you say, the advantage of Schneiderlin is he's done it in the Premier League. He knows who he's going to be playing against week in, week out next season. The only question mark would be about his lack of European experience, if you like.
Yeah, and Andrew, from your point of view, again, obviously, sort of taking off or putting on rather an Arsenal hat, would you think he would be a good fit, sort of for Arsenal and the style that they play in? And do you? I mean, obviously that he's in the French national side, but he's played over here for quite a number of years now. What sort of views do you have, and what sort of price tag are we going to be looking at to prize him away?
Price, I've no idea. I hate these kind of questions. I always say you're only worth what someone's willing to pay for you. It can be anything. But yeah, he's a player that it's one of those, you hear the name and you hear it's from France. You sort of take an interest, and people have been calling for him to be in the national team a lot longer than he's made it in. I saw him in person when Southampton went to Newcastle, went there with a friend in the away end. I was basically just watching Schneiderlin, and he's very much in the same mould as Gonalon. He sort of reads the game really well. He's always up there in the tackle stats of tackles per game, and yeah, he can go forward as well, which you don't see maybe enough of. He's got the ability to score and to pass. I think and he's from Strasbourg as well, which I'm sure Wenger's got a little bit of nostalgia about him. Yeah, and I think it'd be a great fit. This depends on price, because if you're going to get the Premier League bonus on top of what you're actually worth, which happens far too often, you'd maybe better still going for Gonalon, and you might get him for cheaper. But yeah, if you can get him at a good price, there's no reason why he wouldn't fit into that team perfectly.
Yeah, brilliant. I'm might pass Dom some tissues now because he'll get excited listening to that. I've just we'll start to wrap things up. Then I've just got a few questions that I'm going to just fire. Ultimately, there's a couple that are sort of directly for Andrew, and there's a couple that I'm going to fire your way, Holic. And I'll start with you if I may. This was from one of the friends of the pod on the Facebook page, Michael Robert George Bullbeck. That's Bullbeck, Danny, not Gimli. Sorry, not Bullbag.
Dirty boy.
Dirty boy. Danny, you're next, so stay there. He simply says, Holic, that this is a game and a tie that we should win comfortably. Whether you agree or disagree with that, this is the Monaco game, obviously. Do you share my positive attitude, his positive attitude, or do you think that maybe we could sneak into the semi-finals of the Champions League?
What a question to ask. Yes, I do think there is every chance that we can get past Monaco, and I understand that they'll be thinking there's every chance they can get past us. But I have a feeling we may put it out of sight next week, because I share Andrew's kind of assessment of Monaco, that they will probably sit back and invite us on. And I think anybody that does that, with the players that we've got fit at the moment and the formation we're likely to play, I think they'll be playing into our hands. So hopefully we can resolve the issue next Wednesday, because I think we will play very differently in the away leg. And then it's a question of, you look at the other ties, and there's one in particular, without naming names, that you think, well, if we draw the winner of that one in the quarter-final, then we're in the last four. But we're kind of into territory that I don't like, because I still remember the Invincible season when we should have absolutely romped it out of the four semi-finalists, and the quarter-final. We should have knocked out Chelsea and gone on in the year that you had Monaco and Porto got through. That year was made for us, and we could still run into the same issue by drawing not one of the big guns this time.
Yeah, Wayne Bridge and all that. Oh, God.
Don't.
Yeah, let's not go there. I've got a question here for Danny, if I can find it. I can't find it. Hang on, here we go. Yes, here we go. It's from our very own friend of the pod, made his debut on the radio show last week. That's Keep. Danny, he wants to know what your views are on Thierry Henry potentially becoming a coach at Arsenal. Whether you think, obviously, we know he's got his Sky deal, but there's a lot of talk that now he's in London fairly permanently, that things might be moving in that direction. He wants to know your thoughts on whether you think Thierry will be a good coach or potential manager at Arsenal one day.
Well, I think if any of the youth players that he works with, it's going to take a good 6 months to a year before they can close their mouth from being wide open and jaw dropping and going, "That's Thierry Henry." Oh no! He'll have to wear a disguise when he goes to training, otherwise nothing will ever get done. He just, "Can you sign my Panini sticker book, mister?" And my little Corinthians figures. Oh yeah, I think that man can do whatever he wants. I still got the ump with him because he left. And so that's why he doesn't make my top three players, because he demanded to leave, and I know he was going through some personal shit at the time, and he went off and he did what he wanted to do by leaving, but he'll never be the same for me, because he turned his back on the club, which I know people go, "No, fuck off, that's not right." Well, no, that is right. Adams, Bergkamp. The Bergkamp is the perfect foreign player. Came here, spent his entire career here, and is loved by everybody. But as far as coming to a coaching capacity, when I buy the club, he will come as a youth coach. So will Keown and Adams and Seaman and all the players that made us great, like all the best teams in the world do. They surround their clubs with great ex-players, but we don't seem to do it. Whether it's because Wenger has got an inferiority complex where he has to be the main man, or whether it's as simple as they don't really want to do it. But the fact that Henry and Perez are at every game, especially now that Perez has just come back from a stint in India, which was not too bad for him, and the fact that Henry's now doing Sky Sports, they can be around all the time. So I'd like to see them both there in a coaching capacity, and I think they'd both do it for nothing. They obviously love the club, and they say they're Arsenal fans, and it'd be brilliant. And I'd get a few more back. I mean, I know a lot of people don't really like Manu Petit, because he's French, he's quick, and his name's a Porno Flick, Emmanuel.
Had to get that one in, didn't you?
Yeah, it's almost one of my favourite chants of all time. I'd love to see any of them come back at any capacity, just because it's good to have players, people who love the club at the club.
Yeah, absolutely. Another couple of questions here for Andrew. I should just give a nod actually to Hassan Ramzan from Facebook. He asked a very similar question about players that would suit Arsenal, so I wanted to give him a mention. A couple of quick fire ones for you, Andrew.
Yep.
Saeed Sachi, he said, Arsenal, are they the most supported English team in France?
I've no idea, if I'm honest.
I did wonder if you'd know.
It's bizarre. They seem to support every team but their own in France. Prime example, when Leo won the league, they'd sold out of all those home shirts. But I walked around Leo for a whole weekend and didn't see any of them until I went to the game. But I saw Milan tracksuits, Marseille tracksuits, bloody PSG, Chelsea, man. You see everything. Canal Plus. It's easier to watch Premier League sometimes in France than it is to watch Ligue 1. I remember going to a bar, it was a Friday night, Leon against Social, asked if they were watching it, and he was like, what, there's games on? They had no idea. Okay. But Premier League, well, they're all on that,
yeah. More good news from Gangon, by the way. Mustafa
2-1.
Put them 2-1, yeah. 2 goals in 2 minutes.
And I also tipped Claudio Bovu to score any time, and he has, so
there you go. Happy days. Another question from friend of the pod. Danny, I think it's over to you to say his name. Luca?
Bok?
Kolakusic.
I don't know his bloody surname off by heart, do I?
You can never say his name. He did actually specifically request that you say his name.
Yeah, so. What is it?
It's another question for Andrew. I just wanted to get you to say his name.
What is his surname?
Kolakusic.
Oh, bless you.
Thank you. Andrew, he says, do you think that Lyon will make another run of consecutive league titles sooner rather than later, considering PSG? So in other words, if Lyon were to do, not the unthinkable, but if they were to win the league this year, do you think it'd just be the one-off year that it went away from PSG, or do you think that money rules and PSG will be back in at it again the season after?
Money certainly rules, but whether PSG have the brains to put together some kind of project to actually make it happen is another story. But I can't see Lyon doing the sort of 7 in a row again. I think it'd be impossible in France now to. You look at back in those days when Lyon were buying like SCN for like 5 million, buying Malouda for 7 and selling them on. Teams don't have that kind of money to buy talent anymore, so it's developing your own, and they'll always get sold on. So it's always going to make the up and down very difficult. And then also with the European places as well, it makes it very hard for a team to play in Europe and put together a run in the league. You look at the teams who are at the top now, apart from PSG, who do have the money to have a massive squad. Everyone else, Marseille went in Europe, Lyon got knocked out early on. You have to give a lot of credit to Monaco for being a 5th chance to go 4th and still in the Champions League. Whenever you see a team do well in Europe, they're usually down the mid-table. So that's always going to bring about the league. Other teams can chase and drop. And yeah, I don't see anyone for a while winning a lot in a row. Apart from if PSG get that together, they've got the potential to do it, but I don't see them doing that. There's always something waiting to kick off there.
Yeah, fair point. Final sensible question before we get one light-hearted one, then we'll finish with predictions from an Arsenal point of view. Gooner Rob asked, as someone who follows League One as closely as you do you rate Cavani that highly since he left Napoli? Been at PSG. Obviously, a lot of Arsenal fans have still got this little crush, whether it's the female Arsenal fans that would like to see him in an Arsenal shirt, possibly. But I know a lot of people are very keen on him being our striker in the future. How do you rate him at PSG? I mean, I know he plays in the wrong position, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, we'll get to that. No, I don't. If I'm honest, do I rate him? He's a good player. Is he someone that Arsenal would want to bring in to take him to the next level? No, he's not. What annoys me about Cavani is his attitude. You mentioned that he plays in the wrong position. There's very much a FIFA football manager sort of thing to that because you have to put out your team in a certain thing, and he plays on the right and he plays on the left. When you watch PSG, the first thing that happens is Zlatan drops deep all the time to the halfway line, centre circle, leaving a big massive gap in the middle of the attack for someone to take over. That is Cavani's job. When you watch them last season when he got 16 goals, he comes in off the wing and does a job in attack. He's in the wing for defence. I keep joking he's PSG's best fit defender because he does a really good shift as a left back, right back. But he made all this fuss about tactics need to change and this needs to change without looking at his actual performances and looking and saying, I actually played quite well in that, because Zlatan being Zlatan takes all the attention away. The defence are looking at him. It gives him a lot of space to come into him, but his movement is just so bad sometimes, Cavani, that he just doesn't see all the gaps that are there. And then this season, when he's got into the positions, he couldn't hit a barn door with a cow's arse. He just needs too many chances to score, and there was the one against Chelsea during the week. He did really well to get in the box, and then he should have done the Henry style curler to the back post, but he fluffed it. Tough chance, but a confident striker would have scored that. He's not the person he was from Napoli. He's definitely not that player anymore. And you look at how much are PSG going to want for him. Still, I think he's 27. They paid 60 million euros. They're going to want at least half of that back. And for me, there's a lot better you could do with 30 million, I'd say euros, or 25 million pounds is better that you can do than buying someone whose confidence seems shot. And I would stay well away from Edison Cavani.
There you go. That's the.
And if you want it for good looks, you've got Olivier Giroud, who's like one of the sexiest men in the world. So what?
Why would you want another one? Our last question is a little bit of a light-hearted one. Holic or Danny, you can chip in with this one if you've had them before. Mark Lewis wants to know: do frogs' legs really taste like chicken?
I've never had them.
Holic, have you ever dabbled in that?
I think we're going to be a clean sweep on this one.
Yeah, Danny.
Of course, if it's not four-legged, I'm not eating it.
Yeah.
If you do go to France and you go to northern France, you try a thing called fricadelle. It's kind of like a hot dog, but it has a myth of being like worse. No one knows what it's made of. No one knows if it's chicken, beef, pork, whatever. It comes in the friterie places you get that are open at 3 a.m. when you've had a few too many 8% beers, fricadelle chips, a bit of samurai sauce, and you're sorted.
Danny is writing this down as we're ready to ring the
Meat,
takeaway when we finish.
potatoes, that's all I want.
Sorted.
Okay, so we'll finish things up. Appreciate we've gone long tonight, but it's been genuinely fascinating to get insight into all things French. And
Can I mention one more player that I've written down?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
If Arsenal are looking for potential targets, I'm not sure if you need a left back or a left midfielder, but one player you should be definitely looking at is a guy called Rafael Guerrero.
Lorient, yes.
From Lorient, yeah.
Yes.
Again, it's kind of like Fekir. I'm not quite sure he knows what position he wants to be yet, because he started at left back, he's been pushed to left midfield and sort of exploded. He's got 6 goals this season. But in an English way, you can see him being that sort of Ashley Cole, Kieran Gibbs, attacking fullback, given licence to bomb forward, wonderful left foot, really good attitude. He's jumped up from Con in League 2 to Ligue 1. He scored at Old Trafford for Portugal in his second cap for them. He's sort of taken everything in his stride, and I can see him being someone that a Premier League team's going to come in for him. If I was Arsenal and I was Wenger, he's not going to cost a lot. He's at Lorient. You've got that connection with like Ferry anyway, from all those deals that have gone through. He's one that I would get in the summer. Even if you don't need a left back or anything, just get him in so someone else doesn't, because he's awesome.
Yeah, there you go. Here, by the way, scored a cracker last week against Ram, wasn't it? I think it was Ram. So, I second that one. Right, Holic. Next fixture is away at Crystal Palace for the Arsenal, bringing it back to full circle, back to Arsenal. Just give us some very, very brief thoughts on that game and a prediction from you, if I may.
Looking forward to seeing us go out there with the same positive attitude we had at the weekend against Borough. With pretty much, there are going to be some changes, obviously. I'd like to see Monreal and Bellerin come back. I would think that Mertesacker going to get his place back. Wouldn't be at all disappointed to see Gabriel start and Koscielny get a deserved rest just for the one game before Monaco come back. And if that midfield gets going, if Cazorla and Mesut Ozil and Sanchez get their act together, then it could be a very good day for us at the Palace. But, Pardew's starting to get them organised there, so we might have to be a bit patient early doors. But no, I've got to fancy us at the moment.
And what's your prediction for final score and first scorer?
I will go for 3-1 to us. First goal scorer's got to be Giroud.
Happy days, happy days. Danny, same question for you.
Which do you want first?
Give us some brief thoughts on the game, and then you can have your score and your score.
Sanogo, their best player, won't be playing, will he?
No.
No, and their other best player, Shamak, he'll be playing but facing the wrong direction.
Yep.
Too busy trying to make his hair all pointy. They've only won. I mean, they are on a bit of a resurgence, but that's only because they beat Southampton and Leicester, which beating Southampton was a miracle. But that's the FA Cup for you. But then they've lost at home to Liverpool, drew at home to Newcastle, and lost at home to Everton in the last few games. So I don't think it's going to be any big deal. I think we are away. It's 3:00 this Saturday. I should think we should go there and get a win, whether it's 1-0 or 2-0. I can't really see them scoring. They've got some decent players there. I've got, I think, 2 or 3 of their players in my team. Like Jedinak, a half decent player. He's always worth a goal. So I think it's gonna be an okay game. We should get the win and 2-0. And I think the first goal scorer is going to be Giroud.
Lovely job. Andrew, I've got to ask you to make a guest prediction. By all means, you can still pick Olivier if you like. Give us a random score that you fancy plucking out the air.
Can I go for 3-3 of Sonogo and Giroud hat-trick?
Oh, hello. 1,000,000-1.
You have to pick Shamak by default because I think Sonogo will be blocked from playing.
I don't get why English teams do that. In France, you sort of have to play. Okay, I'll go for... Well, Shamak's never going to score a hat-trick in his life. I'll go 3-2 then. Shamak double and Giroud for a sexy hat-trick.
Happy days. You did the right thing picking an Arsenal win there. That was good. And my final question to you is a bit of a random one. You can have one Arsenal player, only one, at Lille. Who would you pick?
From right now?
Yep.
We can never afford any other wages to begin with.
And you cut. All right, to make it interesting.
We'll pay half the wages.
Ooh,
yeah,
okay.
we'll pay half. To make it interesting, it has to be a realistic player that you think would benefit Lille. So you can't just have Alexis.
You go double Diaby sounds good.
Double Diaby.
I couldn't think of anything else. Let's have a look. Paying half his wages. Okay, that might make it feasible.
Flamini's only on 50 grand a week. Celtic have just scored the equaliser in the 4th minute of injury time. 3rd minute. Oh, get in.
Let's go for we do. I don't know, we need goals, but we can't afford any of your strikers.
You can have a one-legged Giroud. It's your choice.
Do you know what I think he'd do better than Divock Origi with, if I'm honest?
Yeah.
Can I take Oxlade-Chamberlain on like a 12-month loan deal?
Oh, that's tough. What do you reckon, Holic?
I think he'd like it.
Prepared to sanction that one?
Good call, isn't it?
Yeah, good call.
Where would you play him, though? That's the problem. I'd like playing through the middle.
Yeah, well, we play 4-3-1-2, and we really do lack someone bit of pace up front that can get him his. I'd play him up front beside Nolan Roux or Diaby or anyone else apart from Origi. I think you get a good job out of him.
Well, we'll give Arsene a bell. We'll see what we can do. But if all else fails, we'll just send Chuba over for a season because he'll still get you chances.
We do have contacts. We know someone who knows Ryan Huddock, the 19-year-old,
the
19 youth goalkeeper. So we know people.
Or if all else fails, we'll just send Joel Campbell over because he likes a loan. So.
He'll go anywhere. He'll follow you home.
Do you know what? He was average at Lorient as well. He's one of those. He was really average. Can I take Robert Pires? Actually, I think he'd still do a job for us.
Yeah, actually, yeah. He's only kicking his heels watching games. So
no,
it's
he's
good.
ours. Sorry,
he's
never leaving. We're never letting him go.
Well, I'll wrap things up now. I'll just go for any shout-outs anyone has got. Holic, have you got anyone you'd like to give a nod to?
Oh, goodness me.
I forgot as well. I just remembered.
I will give a shout-out to @WestStandTone on Twitter. He's a good mate and does all sorts of wonderful things for a lot of Arsenal people.
Excellent. Loving that. Danny, have you got anyone you'd like to give a little nudge and a wink to?
Well, I did put out a tweet to people just now saying, what is French for? We have gone all French. I've got 2 replies. I got one from Kelly, who got it right and then started bleating on about McDonald's and how clever she is, that she can shout at the French people what she wants. And the other one was Sean Landry @LANDRYSEAN, and he did it for me. So that's the title of the podcast is now in French, so people have no idea what the fuck it is.
Was it Avenue? What's
He's put Nous, Sommes, Allés, Tout, Les Français.
Nous Sommes we are.
I like Danny's butchered version. I thought that was excellent.
They can't be what they're learning. I want it in. We have gone all French.
We have a Avenue, I think.
Bastards, they've
Yeah.
tucked me up like a kipper, ain't they? Can you tuck up a kipper? Well, they've tucked me. I've been kippered.
You can, yeah, you can.
Oh.
Andrew, please feel free to obviously, if you've got any personal shout outs, feel free, but also just give your website and your podcast a little bit of a plug for our listeners who want to have a listen.
Yes, you can follow me on Twitter at Gibney_A. Please follow French Football Weekly. It's French FT Weekly, and if the person at FFW would ever bloody give us their account, that'd be really helpful as well. The website FrenchFootballWeekly.com. We try and do a weekly podcast. Sometimes we have difficulties being in 3 different cities. I'll give a shout out to my mate Jeremy Smith 98 on Twitter, who's sort of part of the website. He's a Brighton fan by sort of force, but he's a soft touch for Arsenal, goes to games. Also a Mets fan, a big fan of Pires and Henry and all the Arsenal players over the years, so he might give this a listen, but and he does a lot for the website and really top guy.
There we go. That's, if he's Arsenal, he's good by us.
And on our website, underneath a link to all of your Twitter accounts, I've put a link to your website and a link to your latest podcast. They're hyperlinked as well, because I can press buttons.
Excellent.
That's why I'm a button monkey.
And it's a good episode because I'm not on it.
I did notice that. Yeah,
Power cut, didn't you?
Someone called John was on it hosting, wasn't he?
I was covering the Lorient game on Twitter, and the missus who's downstairs went to make some toast and tripped all the electrics. And with a faulty fuse box and didn't get back on till like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock on Monday, which was fun. We went to 24-hour McDonald's to charge all our devices.
Gremlins attack even
in the life.
Excellent.
The other person is Jonathan Johnson, by the way, Danny, who's the other chap on French Football Weekly, equally well versed in French football.
PSG fans, don't give them too much credit.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't give them credit. I want to give my shout out to a man who came on the Invincibles podcast with myself and Holic and Danny over Christmas, and that's my mate Gaz. He's at Gazman Jones. He recently got engaged after
well done.
28 years of pretending to get engaged. He finally went and did it. So
downhill from there.
This. I think he's planning on getting married in.
Good God, run away!
It's actually after 14 years. I've just read his Twitter timeline, so I'm gonna give him a shout. It's really melty. He says, after 14 years, I proposed to my best mate, the love of my life. She said yes, and I couldn't be happier. How soft is that, eh? But that's all that remains to be said for this evening. Just want to extend my thanks to Goonerholic for coming on and for listening, probably more than speaking. So thank you very much for your patience tonight, Holic.
Thank you for having me, and it was an absolute pleasure to listen to Andrew. I've learned a lot tonight.
Absolutely, me too.
It's all rubbish, mate. I'm making it up as I go along.
It's all at Wikipedia. Andrew, I'd also like to my personal thanks for you for coming on and say big fan for a long time, and really appreciate you giving up your Thursday evening for us.
It's been an absolute pleasure, guys. Really enjoyed it. It's good to chat about rather than hosting for a change. Is quite nice.
Absolutely, and obviously if we don't beat Monaco, we will be sending hate to you. Okay, it is all your
in all honesty, I think Arsenal win over the 2 legs. They should have too much of Monaco, but should have too much. It depends on the day, doesn't it? I can't see them getting mauled. That's
it's a perfect.
There are 2 Arsenals.
Yes, oh God, yeah, don't we know it? Let's hope the right one turns up. Thank you as always, Danny.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I've got a flamethrower and a slightly docile sheep, so dinner's nearly ready.
Happy days. Well, thank you all for joining us this evening. Obviously, keep it Arsenal, and we will speak to you next week. In fact, no, we'll speak to you on the radio show. I don't know whether it'll be me or Danny, but one of us will be in the old seat.
Probably not me, because I'm too lazy.
Danny's too lazy. So it'll probably be me plus 1 or 2 others after Crystal Palace on Saturday, so tune in for that. And hopefully Mr. Gimli will not have the cat and dog aids, and he'll be back in the chair next week. So thank you all for listening. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll speak to you again soon. Cheerio.
Nanu, you cheeky poncho monkeys. I'm trying to think of something clever that's saying failed again.
Yeah,
that's 96 pods in a row.
If you don't put the Marseillaise as the end music, I'm going to come over there and beat you to death.
What is it?
What do you mean, what is it?
The Marseillaise.
Yes.
In relation to Les Ferdinand.
No, not Sir Les, no.
What is it?
It's the French
You're going to
national
have to
anthem.
spell it for him.
French
Yeah.
national anthem.
You being serious?
Can I do commentary of Khan scoring 2 against PSG in the last minute?
Yes, you can.
You can do that if you want. Although that's probably Dom's job with Domentry. Really,
Domentry!
Domentry!